different if y'all can see me, but you can't. Anyway, greetings and welcome to the 1-6 Scale Man proudly presents. You know what it is. It is Monday, so it's comic book talk with friends, with the fellas. How you doing? It is LR Leo Rockwell for the 1-6 Scale Man YouTube channel, and I'm so glad to have you guys here with us. Got a lot of things we're going to actually cover tonight, a couple of different topics. If you've been following, you know basically what it is. So we're going to actually dive into that in just a few moments. But before we do, of course, I got to bring in the crew. Now, the only person that's not with us tonight is Vinny. He is definitely he's right now at Raw. He actually went up to go see WWE's Raw here in Hershey, Pennsylvania, him and a couple of other people. So he's actually there doing that, but he'll be back next week. But we got the rest of the crew and one special guest. First, let me introduce, you know him, you love him. He's probably eating a big ass bag right now of them. But yeah, the butt naked Sour Patch Kids. I already told you.
This dude, bro.
To be expected.
That's right.
Yeah, the butt naked.
Any less, he got the butt nakeds with him. Definitely the butt naked box of Sour Patch Kids. No, it's the Sour Patch Kids butt
naked mix.
So good.
Mm-mm.
Are you gonna tell people where you got them?
He got them from BJ's or
anybody can get them.
Or
anybody can get them. You just go online.
Costco's.
You order a custom box. You literally tell them which flavors you want in there. If you want them all blue raspberry, you just get them all blue raspberry. I went blue and orange. Those are my favorites. Man, you just type in whatever you want on the website, and it'll say like Lael's mix or butt naked
this boy
mix.
Man,
that's it.
The butt naked mix.
Apparently, there was no filter. There was nothing saying that's inappropriate. You can't do that. So I did it.
So you got the butt naked mix. That's what's up. Figured that. Anyway, you good today, bro?
I am doing very well, man. I've been getting a lot of stuff in the last several weeks into the collection between books, figures. Got this bad boy in. The Night Out Spider from.
Oh, you got it in already?
Yep.
Yeah, that thing is awesome, bro.
Yeah, I can't wait. He's gonna look really good next to the So Toys Spider-Man Noir.
Is that jacket wired?
It's got like a very it's got like a wire in the bottom. It's not like super strong. But it's not like and then there's like a wire like lines here, but it's not like you can do some stuff with it, but it's not gonna be like crazy strong.
You're composing pretty good though, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's a good figure. Color is really good. I love the sculpt work on the mask. It's awesome. So he's gonna look really good.
That's awesome,
with the Spider-Man Noir. So I gotta get him kind of posed up with that. But that, and I got Wanda from WandaVision coming. So hopefully the beginning of like end of this week or beginning of next week, she'll be here.
Who'd you get with him?
That was my last hot toy that I had pre-ordered through Toys Wonderland.
Yeah.
So I have a couple more third-party stuff figures through them. And it was like before they switched over to like doing third-party stuff at Comic Sanctorum. So it's I think maybe one or two with Comic Sanctorum and one or two with Toys Wonderland technically. But like the So toys like Jason Todd and stuff from like Titans. But then that's it. So I only have a handful. All the rest of my pre-orders are either through Ray at Underground here in the States, actually in the state that I grew up in Rhode Island, or Pop Collectibles. Like the InArt stuff. Like I got the InArt Joker through Pop Collectibles. I've got the InArt was it Robert Pattinson Batman. I've got that through InArt, and like the
that's on its way. That's on its way. Oh, you pre-ordered it?
No, that's just pre-ordered. That doesn't come out. That doesn't come out for a little while. And I have like the what company did Blade, but that like Blade that's coming out. I've got so handful of those through them. But no, Toys Wonderland is basically if there's like a ridiculous like sale and it's something that's in stock and not like being pre-ordered or whatever. And it's good for my wallet, then I'll jump on it. But otherwise, I'm not giving them any like pre-order business or anything.
Yeah. I'm chilling with them.
They're just been a pain in the ass. So
that's need that smoke. definitely don't need that smoke. So that's why I'm like, yeah, it's a done deal for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for being here, bro. As always.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Jedi Pimp Smack
Yes, sir.
himself.
Yes, sir.
Jedi Pimp, aka Master Sergeant, also the baby powder in his hands. All
But this is
time.
LeBron.
Exactly. What's going on with you, bro?
I'm chilling. I only have my butt naked mix, but I got my gin and juice, and I'm gonna relax and get through this nice show. I finally got my Captain America in, and that weird Ant-Man, bro. That Captain America figure, bro.
It's everything, bro.
Yo,
I
that
just
is
opened it yesterday to put in the display.
Yeah, dog. That's figure of the year for 2023, man. I don't know, dog. Like maybe
the Sam Wilson dude. That thing is just a work of art.
Maybe Luke Skywalker from the Mando is like number 2, but bro, that is figure of the year, bro. Like the way you can move the wings and the wingspan is. I compared it to the Wonder Woman. You know, it's way bigger than Wonder Woman's wings.
Oh, and then the gold armor.
Oh, what a beautiful figure! Then him alone without the wings, the proportions and everything, bro. Like that's a new body I think they used for him this time. Because it's different than the one that came with the Falcon.
It's worth it. And the wings, the ingenuity and the mechanics of the wings.
They took their time, bro.
Yeah, they did an incredible job because you can get some really decent poses like it's bending.
Yeah.
It does so much, bro. It's incredible.
You could almost get him to be covered by it if you do it just right. Like it almost does it. But like that's close enough for me, man. Like that.
You know the crazy thing about that though is that figure and the wings and how amazing that is and the engineering, like what they did with that. That shit still came out faster than the Wanda that just dropped from WandaVision.
Right.
How did that come? What held up Wanda,
dude,
longer than the wings on
Didn't they
Sam
drop
Wilson?
her like a year ago? Like 2 years ago? She's supposed to come out. They showed the picture like 2 years ago.
Bro. The show has been out
pre-order like 2 years ago.
The show been out for what? 3 years now, right?
The show was like 3 years because Falcon and Winter Soldier was
last year.
Like I think it was like the second or third show that they did.
Yeah,
but it was after WandaVision.
Yeah,
and so WandaVision came out like, and the WandaVision came out before that show.
That's crazy.
But Wanda just dropped now, whereas Sam dropped like a month, 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's Sam Wilson, and the head sculpt and everything, bro, is perfection.
Oh yeah,
like they got his face down to the T, dog. Like man, I recommend it. If anybody's collecting right now, that's your first figure to grab. Get that before it sell out. It's gonna be a grail.
I was so happy too because I was kind of worried. I was like, oh, when they do this, because the first Sam Wilson like they did from like the Winter Soldier wasn't that great. Like the head sculpt.
The head sculpt wasn't. Yeah,
I was like, oh man, I hope they don't do him like John Boyega. Because that fin,
they messed that
back
fin.
in the day was bad.
I
was like, don't do
buy
Sam that way, you know. But no, they did a good job. They did a good job.
Yeah.
But bro, thanks for always being here as always.
No
and
doubt,
next up, we got a special guest in the building. My bro, all day, every day. My man coming through. Now, if you stick around long enough, he might give you some tips for how to curate your beard. So that might be coming up next.
I need to cut my shit.
You know what I mean? He might do that. So just staying clear for that. Be ready. We got Miguel from Toy Quest in the building. What's going on with you, bro?
That's it.
What's up?
Yo, so good to have you here, man.
That T-shirt is fire.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
Definitely is.
I just saw that. That's dope.
Definitely, that's crazy.
Some cheekage. I don't know if you can see it.
I'm surprised Brendan doesn't have it with the cheekage that's on that
Word.
shirt.
That red glove special.
That's that rogue. That's that
Everybody
rogue.
can use a little more cheek in their life.
With the Tarzan cheeks. The Tarzan Jane cheeks.
Straight up.
It's the red glove special.
So it's ironic. We just came off, pretty much your show on Friday. And we had a special guest. Now, speaking of noir, tell them a little bit about who we had on your show last week.
Oh, hell.
So we had the co-creator of Spider-Man Noir, on the show, Fabrice Sapolsky.
That's dope.
And yeah, man, he had a lot to say. Like I actually knew him for a while now. I met him like 5 or 6 years ago when he co-created the Spider-Man, and this is right when I think the first Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out. And yeah, I haven't talked to him since. I know he was coming to the Philadelphia Fan Expo next week or whatever week it is. And yeah, man, I got in touch with him again. I invited him onto the show because I kind of knew a couple things in the back end that were going on with, you know, him being the co-creator, and now with Spider-Man Noir kind of blowing up. And it was just a really good show, an informative show to kind of see the other side of, you know, everything that's been going on, especially like with the writer's strike and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But him as a co-creator being on and going through the roller coaster of emotions of having something he created and then kind of being turned around and turned into something else by Marvel pretty much. And you know, him kind of not getting credit for it and things like that. It was a really good show. It was a strong show. But I just wanted to give him a platform to, you know,
really talk about voice his opinion and stuff like that.
Voice his opinions and his, you know, thoughts behind what's going on and stuff like that. And aside from that, all the other things that he's been doing, you know, he has his own comic publishing company. He's got a bunch of other comics coming out. I mean, the guy is very, very talented. But me and Leo are gonna see him next week, so you'll see some more pictures and stuff. You should bring his you should bring your Spider-Man.
No. So let me tell everybody. So all right, so check this out. So I was telling him about the third party noir, bro. I told him how basically, you know, So Toys released it. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah. I think he knew about it, right?
No, he didn't know about it. He doesn't know about it.
Okay, so anyway, so I brought it out and I had it in front of me.
And they got a lawsuit now.
No. No, he's cool. He's cool with that because it's not really. The problem was there were two things that he did not like that they did against his will. He was like, he didn't like it. He didn't agree to it, but they, I guess, forced their hands. Number one, the hat. He said he never gave them. He never wanted the hat. The figure to have the hat itself.
Really?
Because he was like, he was like,
that's a classic look for him.
It's
though.
noir. It's Spider-Man, and also the gun, the pistol. He was like, I didn't want him. He was like, he's Spider-Man. Like, why would he actually have a pistol in his hand? Like, you know, he was like, it's not something that he was for at that point. But this is something that, you know, Marvel at the time pushed. So I had to figure out while he was talking, bro. Like, so while he was talking, I was slowly moving to figure out the focus, bro.
And getting the fucking hat off. And taking
the first thing he did was take the hat off.
You know what? It's funny though, but I get what he's saying. My personal taste, and this just goes to show how you know, it's never just one vision. There are a lot of different people putting, you know, their kind of take on things. And and before we actually see something on the page, how many people have contributed to what that final result is? Because I love the gun I could do without, but I'm okay with the inclusion. But I love the fedora because that is
that's the 1930s, right? Man. That's what made him.
And that's what I love is that those two elements are very much steeped in noir. Yeah. And so it's combining those elements because there are also plenty of things. If you look at the X-Men noir, the Iron Man, the Punisher, the Daredevil noir, the Luke Cage, all of those, they all incorporate things of that 30s, 40s,
that era
style and era that aren't germane to the original characters. But that's because they're supposed to be different characters, right? And if they're too similar, then it just feels like, well, you just took Peter Parker and put him in the 30s. Like, we want this to be its own version, right? So like, I totally get, like, if that wasn't his original vision, then it's like, you know, when people are messing with your original vision, I totally get that. Well, to me, it's like, I like what we got. You know,
well, the thing is, so originally, if you guys ever like read the original The hell's that? Oh, the original 4-run comic book that he did.
Yeah.
So and I don't know if you guys know, but the suit that he has is Uncle Ben's war suit from the army.
Right.
That's where he got his suit from. So originally when he made this character, that run didn't have any of that. And then after, because remember, it's an IP, so he technically doesn't own it. He created this, they kind of bought it, whatever. And you know, throughout the show, and he knows that, he understands that,
work for hire type situation.
It's not like Sideshow is giving him any money for that premium.
No,
format.
well, he doesn't even care about that. It wasn't about the actual figure. It was just about how now, like for example, you know, it's in the movies, it's in cartoons, it's like Spider-Man Noir's
there's going to be a series on Amazon,
right? And now all of a sudden, you know, he's not even getting credit rights. So like he doesn't. I don't even think. I mean, obviously he wants money. Anybody would care for money. Yeah, he's not even getting credited. Do you guys know? And he didn't mention this on the show. And don't worry, he's going to be on Leo's show soon because we're setting that up.
Oh, that's what's up.
But you know how much he made for Spider-Man Noir as a co-creator total?
Come on, don't tell me no little punk ass number, dog.
You want to take a guess?
Probably
10,000.
Probably 10 grand.
That's way too much.
Oh my god.
Yep.
He got robbed, yo.
Well, he got no. I'm not
less than 10,000.
I mean, like for writing the entire first 4.
Well, he actually
co-created
him
about
too.
Just creating the character,
just everything.
For co-creation and writing, he only got 10, lower than 10 grand.
He got 2 grand, less than 2 grand for it.
What?
Matter of fact, he has one left. He has the, what do you call that? The stipend or whatever. Of one of his payments from Marvel, and he drew a sketch on it, and he's selling that for like $400 or something. There was 5 of them or 6 of them. He sold 5 so far, but it's just, I don't know. Listen.
These are why these writers and creatives are getting so pissed off, though.
Right. So his thing was just the conversation was just him, you know, because a lot of like us, we're not gonna know, and he's got people coming to Comic-Con dressed up as Spider-Man Noir from the cartoon, and he's like, right, not my guy, but they're not gonna know. But he's just trying to voice his opinion on what's going on, and it showed me a lot because I thought I knew everything he was talking about until he started talking about more into it. And, you know, that's the reason why I wanted to bring him on, so he could just voice that. He was comfortable. There was a lot of things that you learn as a fan, right? For somebody in his position, right? And the thing is that character, everybody loves him. Like, that character is a good character. You know what I mean? From the storyline, from the way he was made, all that stuff. Even now, even if they changed him, he's still a good character. It's just,
they just did another miniseries in 2020 that I absolutely loved.
Right. So think about it. If you made something, right, and you got paid X amount of money back in the day, and now it's all of a sudden blowing up, and you don't even get a single recognition of a movie recognition, right? That's kind of heartbreaking.
That's messed up.
Yeah. That's actually funny because I recently was talking to David Mack, who created Echo, or co-created Echo, and you know, he was even, you know, with her in the Hawkeye show. She's then got her own show that's coming in November. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he got a credit, like a thank you credit in Hawkeye, and he should have one in the you know, the show for Echo, because he's also he designed the main titles for the Captain America Winter Soldier movie. So he's got a good relationship with Marvel, and so he's getting those credits.
Nice.
I've seen some instances where like artists or writers like would screenshot and then put it on, you know, on Instagram or something, be like, oh shit, I got a credit. Like they said thank you. I get a special thank you too at the very end that they didn't even know, because it was like Marvel dropped it in there. They weren't getting like more money, but they were you know, they would get like a nod
at the very least.
And you wonder why these guys get so pissed off, bro. Like when they have writing strikes, I don't even sweat it, because I know these guys they deserve it.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how it'll work out with like the new Spider-Man Noir show that's going to be on Amazon, because that's
I didn't even hear about that.
Sony.
That's crazy.
So I don't know if Marvel would have any say in doing that. I don't know if Marvel's even going to be involved at all, because obviously they work with like, you know, Sony on like the Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff, but I don't know if Marvel is going to even touch any of the like Silk and Spider-Man Noir on Amazon and if they're, if they would insert like a credit to him, or if that would be all on Sony if they're going to do it. I have no idea, because I don't think Marvel had anything to do with the animated, like the Into the Spider-Verse. I think that was 100% Sony. So, and if he didn't get one in that one,
I doubt he's gonna get anything in it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
which is
so
bullshit.
foul, bro. That's
It's
so
bullshit,
foul.
but it's like, and what he explained, because even when we talked about it, one of the biggest things is he was like, look, that's the name of the game, work for hire type of situation, because the biggest thing is like, even for like when you think about the writer's strike, this is a double-edged sword type of situation, because right now it's a work for hire type of a situation, whereas in most cases, depending on who you are as a writer, there might be certain incentives that come with it if you have like a level of independency. But that what they're basically fighting for is to have like ongoing contracts, agreements that gives them more benefits.
Yeah, they deserve that,
but
bro.
here's the problem, though. The problem is, if you want that, and even if say for instance the studios or the production company, they give you that, then they might say, okay, the problem is it's like they want it, but we'll give you this much. This is how much is going to basic. So it's like now they're trying to negotiate the amount of what they feel as though that they should actually get, and it should be distributed equally among all the writers where it's that way. But what the studios pushing back on is, well, what if we have some writers, Academy Award winning writers, pretty much that those who have been writing consistently and putting out fire.
Seniority, you got to pay them more.
Exactly. And this is where like there's so much, people don't understand like how much goes into that shit. And so what he was explaining was like, yo, work for hire. That's just basically the way it is. They pay me for a certain amount for an actual character. It's theirs. I don't have rights for it anymore at all.
It's like after you get hired, you gotta go in a room with a lawyer, though, man.
Because
crazy,
he talked
dog.
about what the fucked up part was when he had the conversation. He was like, they invited him. Remember, Miguel? They invited him basically to see Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse, whatever.
Into the Spider-Verse, yeah.
Or Into the Spider-Verse. So they invited him to basically go see it. He watched it and noticed that even at the end of it, his name wasn't even on the credits at all. At all. They had the nerve after the film to call these motherfuckers called him and asked him how you liked the film. Like, how did you, what you feel about the fucking film? After his name wasn't even credited, bro, for anything.
Bro.
And after they changed the character too, because obviously, and it's funny because I asked them a question. I thought, I don't know why I didn't think anybody else asked them. I asked them, what were your thoughts when you heard the voice of Spider-Man Noir? Is that the voice you had envisioned when you drew the character? He's like, everybody asked me that. I was like, well, I didn't know. But it was just interesting because it was just like real, like you kind of like got drawn into his emotion and the conversation he had, and you kind of felt for him too. But it was just interesting because it's very informative. You're getting to see that side of him. That side of the comic book, of the characters and
it's
stuff.
crazy.
And because it's just crazy. Yeah, for sure.
Because you also have, it's really shifted too, because back in the day, and this is like when I had like I got to have like a good conversation with David Mack a couple weeks back here in Boston. And I've talked to other creators and too, but like he came up, like one of his best friends is Brian Michael Bendis, right? And they came up in a time where they were working, and this is actually even true of Chip Zdarsky right now in interviews that he's given. They came up doing their own creator-owned, like independent stuff. So they could either get in with like a Dark Horse or Image or Boom or something like that, get something out there, get noticed by Marvel or DC, and get brought on by one of those guys. And then that's your big, like David Mack got noticed with his creator-owned series Kabuki, right? That's what got him the gig coming into Daredevil in '98, right? Chip Zdarsky, right? Like his, people laugh at it, but his book Sex Criminals, right? That got him into Marvel and onto Howard the Duck, right? And then he started bouncing around from there. But now you've got people who are actually making their bones in like Marvel or DC, making it, big, or like establishing a name, and then they go and then they start doing more like independent stuff than they were before. Like they're still working with like the
doing.
big two. Yeah, they're still working with the big two. Like Chip Zdarsky just finished his run on Daredevil. He wrote his last one. It comes out in like September, August. And then and he's doing Batman right now for DC, right? But he's even said he's not an employee. He works for hire. He's been offered like you'll be an exclusive Marvel writer or an exclusive DC writer, but he's turned it down because you have the freedom to do other indie projects that you then own those characters and those stories. That's what James Tynion, right, over in DC. He had a hugely popular run on Batman. Now he's got Something Is Killing the Children and House of Slaughter with Boom Studios. He's got Blue Book. He's got all these other. He just put out World Tree, the first issue, which was awesome. So you have guys like him, and these other guys that are, getting noticed, doing well in Marvel or DC, and then they take these bigger ideas and they go to the indies and then they create something and then they own that, because all this shit is getting optioned by like Amazon and stuff like 8 Billion Genies was one of the big hits in the last year, and that got scooped up and got optioned at Amazon, right? And studios like Amazon and Netflix and stuff, they're looking at this and like, all right, well, all of Marvel's great characters and stories, that's going to go on Disney Plus. All of DC's great characters and stories, that's going to go on HBO Max or fucking Max now, right?
Or
Max. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So where they want to get in on the comic book craze, the comic book boom, and all these great stories, they want to go to those indie publishers and the creator-owned stuff so they can get The Boys, right? So they can get Invincible. So they can get all of these. So they can get 8 Billion Genies. So they can get Something Is Killing the Children. That one's being developed at Netflix, right? So now you've got these creators, taking those big ideas after they make their bones in one of the big two, going to those indie studios, doing something that now they have full ownership of, and then they do start to get paid when that stuff gets licensed and gets optioned to the Amazons and stuff like that in ways that they wouldn't get paid if they were, if their creation for Marvel was ending up in the MCU.
Yeah, but those smaller studios like Boom Studios and all them, they still, what did he say, Leo? They take 60%. Boom Studios, Image, all that, 60%.
I can imagine. I mean, I would be shocked if it was less than that, just because the fact that, like, well, one, I mean, even if they take 60%, I mean, I'm sure Marvel and DC take a hell of a lot more than that.
Yeah, but
right?
that's
if the studios are offering you a full-time gig to be write exclusively for them, like, wouldn't you take that? I mean, I know you would have more freedom writing for both.
It just depends, because the thing is, it comes with, like, there's stipulations to that shit, bro. Because even if they offer you, like, say for instance, another company comes along that likes your work, they're offering you more. If you have your independency, then again, work for hire,
agent, right?
You're a free agent. There's more that comes with that. Versus the simple fact that if you're actually strapped down by a studio, they can tell you nope. And on top of that, they can actually make any type of, like, if you're strapped down, and depending on what the agreement is, they are, and they can make any type of, you're locked in.
Yeah.
If you go exclusive,
if you have a contract with DC, it means whatever is in that contract, that's what you get, right? Versus if you create something and it's with, like, Boom Studios or something, but even if they own 60%, you own 40%, you're still gonna get something out of whatever. And I'm sure it's not like across the board. It's like they all take 60%. I'm sure it depends on how much clout, the writer has. Somebody like a James Tynion, who is like one of the hottest writers on the planet right now. He's probably got the power to negotiate and get a better deal. Because if Boom Studios is going to take too much of his money, then he's going to go to Image, or he's going to go to Dark. So there's still a certain element of, like, the publisher is a business and trying to take the biggest cut they can. But at the same time, you have the power to then get more money if they come to you and Boom Studios and you have an actual ownership.
Right.
and they say, hey, we want to make this into a TV show on Netflix, right? Because if Marvel wants to make a show, for Disney Plus, or Warner Brothers wants to make a show for DC and for Max, then they just will, right? You don't, because you created something while you were employed by them, so they own what you created. Versus you owning, like Brian Michael Bendis and his deal with Dark Horse, like when all of his Jinx world lines, right? He owns that stuff. He just had another one come out 2 weeks ago, Murder Inc. It's a creator-owned thing. So it's like, if anything happens with that, he's getting a cut. Right? Whereas if you create it for DC and Marvel, if they decide, hey, we want to show you some love and give you, which they started doing a little bit more because they started getting backlash for not doing it. But not enough that, they're really going to start paying these guys out a lot more. So, yeah, a lot of people are looking at those. And that's why we're also in the best era right now of indie comics in terms of the content we're getting. These books we're getting from Boom Studios is one of my favorite publishers right now, right? But you've got AWA, you've got Titan, you've got Scout Comics, Whatnot actually started publishing comics. You've got Image, which people don't necessarily think of Image as like an indie, but in essence, when you compare it to Disney, to Marvel and DC, it is. So yeah, there's a there's a lot that goes on with those things, and definitely creators don't get enough due. But I think now in the streaming era, where so much stuff is getting licensed, it will, if it hasn't already, it will eventually change the way contracts are done with Marvel and DC. Because otherwise, you're going to have all these great writers who are going to stockpile all their good ideas and bring them over to the indie publishers, and you're not going to be getting as good stories in the big two because they're not going to get paid for them that way.
It's like you're in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If
Pretty
you're
much
a creator or a writer, that's messed up, man.
But hopefully we'll get him on Leo's show, and you guys could have that nice conversation with him and stuff. But me and Leo are gonna check him out at Philly Comic-Con. So
that's what's up.
Sure.
And see, and here's the thing, bro. Like, because I was thinking about this after the conversation, like, because even like the time that I sat and talked to David Mack at the New York Comic-Con, the one thing that he basically said was, with his work, he was like, it's, again, when you negotiate these deals, especially when it comes to character, a lot of people aren't looking at ink to pad, ink to margin. They're looking at ink to art. And I was like, wow, like, that says a lot. And he said, what I mean by that is ink to margin is when you're basically reading the fine print of everything that's on it when it comes to your art. But too many people are basically looking at ink to art. Instead of ink to margin, they're looking at ink to art. Like, okay, pay me this. I'm just so excited that I'm doing my art, or I'm going to get paid for it. But they're not focused in on what it is that people are asking for you when it comes to your art, when it comes to your creation, when it comes to your work. You know what I mean? People aren't really asking you, about that. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, it's dope now that Timothy Zahn is now getting his just due when it comes to Parody Empire. And Star Wars is basically asking him for his input, and they're paying him for it. So that's, more so. And then that was something that,
finally, bro.
Dave Filoni was the one who basically pushed to get that, because he was like, he loved that so much and he knew what he wanted to do. So he pushed to actually get that done, and they're finally getting its credit.
It's something that's happening more now, or starting to, but you have these people that were in that gap where, prior to like when streaming really hit and stuff like that, and rights were getting all confusing, and like everything was getting optioned, and the MCU and the DCEU and all that stuff was blowing up. So you had all these people who weren't really getting a whole lot. And then they start, like, even like Ed Brubaker had said, like, he got like practically nothing for them doing the Winter Soldier on, on screen. And he and it wasn't like he was like, it wasn't like he was like trying to start a witch hunt going after Marvel or anything for it.
Right. Just give me something. Show me something.
Yeah, like Charlie, said in the chat, and like we've heard Rob say countless times, you don't get what you deserve.
You negotiate.
Yeah,
exactly.
true.
And it wasn't a thing back then. right?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that they're fighting for now in the writer's strike, which again, just so people aren't confused, comic book writers are not part of the WGA, right? So that's striking right now. So that like it's completely separate.
Yeah.
But that's what the WGA and the Hollywood writers are fighting for right now is they're trying to get that stuff in negotiations because they would get all this, they would get residuals for like, reruns and syndication on TV, but that's not, but now everything is going on at the studios, all their different streaming platforms. So now it's not like, okay, well, every time this played and every number of ads that was played on this, then you get X amount of money. Now it's just, well, this just lives on streaming.
Yeah.
But they're not getting the data as far as how many times was that episode that you wrote watched, right? And so that's what they're trying to negotiate, because now it's like, well, the studios are still keeping that money, but now the writers aren't getting what they used to get because they don't have to report it the way it used to be when it was syndicated on TV.
Yeah.
So
do you think these guys
are
are hesitant to go to the table with these big boys to try to discuss some kind of, I don't know, payback? Like they believe they'll be blackballed for trying to get a cut of their own creation.
Here's the thing.
a couple years ago, sure, but now people are galvanizing around this.
Bro, listen, this writer strike is affecting, and I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It's affecting everything on an atomic level because of the simple fact that now everybody is looking at everybody. Everybody is looking at their contracts. Everyone is basically looking at their work for hire. It's like, for instance, your independency means a lot, a level of a lot. It means a lot if you have it. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. This is crazy, but I'll give you an example. Okay. Brendan calls up, he calls up, Sour Patch Kids. Hey, I want a custom made bag of butt naked Sour Patch Kids. Hey. All right, cool. They say like, all right, cool, whatever. Now they give him stakes in that, but they pay him for his idea. But then they take his idea, then run with it and start putting it out there for everybody. Now
and don't pay him,
and then don't pay him shit.
And it's
out there, right? But then he decides, okay, cool, all right, fuck it. Another company comes along, is like, yo, we want, something similar to that. He's like, all right, I'm going to take a picture of my ass and you put it on the front of your bag. Doesn't say butt naked. It has his ass on it. So that's his independence. He can do that shit and they can't say nothing. You know what I mean?
May or may not have already happened, but
but that's what I'm saying. That's what your independency gives you versus when you're signing to these companies. Again, there's strict actions when you're negotiating these deals. Negotiate. Make sure that you are getting the best
deal. Lawyer, man.
Exactly.
It's like,
that's what they're doing right now, and it's gonna happen, all right? Because the studios will hold out for as long as they can, but they can't afford to hold out on this kind of thing forever. Because here's the thing. It's backing up all of the
movies, TV.
Think, oh well, it only happened for a month or so. That's not going to do too much. The
shit back like 2 years
that gets fucked because of a month or 2 months of no pre-production happening. That fucks stuff up for the effects of the last writer's strike was felt for 3 TV seasons after. And at least 2-3 years of movies. You felt that in the delays, in the drop in quality, in any number of things. At this point, if this strike goes on much longer, they're not going to need fangs from Mahershala Ali. He's going to need actual fucking dentures because he's going to be that old, right?
Bro, because he's like what? He's 49 right now?
He's 49.
He's almost 50. Yeah, he's almost 50.
They might as well use Wesley.
He was 25 when they first announced him for the fucking role.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been that long.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Dude is not and also he is too talented and too in demand. He's not going to stick around forever if they don't get their shit together.
Yeah.
And he's fighting the writers because they've been writing trash.
They
don't like
just hired Nick Pizzolatto
to come in
to punch up the script. Right, the creator of True Detective. That's a big
that's gonna be a good one.
Literally, the next fucking day, the writer's strike happened.
Damn,
so it's we just hired him. He can't write anything now.
Can't do shit.
Damn.
That's the fucked up part about it.
It's and it's not like he's writing something at home and then when they get back into the swing, it's he's like, all right, I already got the script. We're good to go. can't do that. He's like, you're
You gotta
the
wait.
union. You're not doing it.
Mhm,
You're not
mhm.
doing any work until things pick back up.
Damn.
So the effects that this can have, man,
The implications are crazy.
they need to get this
catastrophic,
shit
man.
worked out quick
Yeah.
because it can cause a real problem. And the thing is, there are a lot of studios. The big studios, they can't afford to fuck with this. That's the thing,
Mhm.
because the MCU has been coming under a lot of criticism for lack of direction and quality in certain
Yes.
areas, right?
Yes.
They need some big wins. All right, Guardians was a good win for them, but they got to follow that up, right?
Yeah. They had nothing
James
before that.
Gunn is under a lot of pressure because that first movie is not just the first movie of the new DCU, but it's fucking Superman. So there's a lot of pressure to get that right, right? You can't stumble out of the DC. Definitely, they can't stumble out of the gate because they're making big changes, big moves. You gotta hit that. You got to hit the ground running on that. Marvel, you don't want to stumble. So and think about Lucasfilm, right? When it's been a minute since we've had a movie, right? Lucasfilm can't afford to fuck that up right out of the gate. So all three of those companies need wins. And the longer this strike goes on, the harder it is to get those wins.
Yeah,
those prequels, I feel bad for the actors because the writing and the storytelling on those prequels were horrible, man.
Prequel or sequels?
The sequels. I'm sorry, the sequels. Yeah, like horrible, man.
Well, that's a totally different story.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, let me actually go down here real quick because, like I said, we got to kind of jump into this. Let me address the chat real quick. We got Justin McFly in the building, Charlie the Unicorn, Chuck G. Who else we got? We got Skyla, my baby girl, my daughter, in the building. How you doing, baby? So glad that you are actually here tonight. Yeah, she watches every week, bro. She works. When she gets off work, she is watching the show. Uncle Butt Naked got a pack of Sour Patch Kids here, so you'll probably see it throughout the show. We got SpongeBob Square Balls in the building. Thank you for being here. We got Malika Mabane in the building. We got a $1.99 super chat by my man SpongeBob Square Balls. His gun could be his web shooter. He's talking about the Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, Noir.
Yeah.
Definitely. We got Renz Talentino in the building, the great Renz Talentino, Bendu Windu, Dennis Perez, who says, hey, Miguel's beard is too perfect. Is that a stencil? That's funny. That's definitely funny. That's what I said. Figure the year top 3. I'm talking about and that's from Justin McFly. Yeah. We got Dale A in the building. Who else we got here? Benjamin E. Green is in the building. Lewis Labitz, my bro, Lewis is in the building. We got a $5 super chat by Malika Bain. Peace and love to the comic heads around the world. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Who else do we actually have out there? We got Raw Lines Studios in the building. Thank you for being here. It's been a while, so thank you for being here every week.
Yeah, no doubt.
And yeah, man, we got quite a few. Who else do we actually got here? Pedro Lopez, thank you for being here, bro.
Had a couple super chats come in too.
Yeah, I read them. Oh,
you did? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I just read the super chats real quick. Patch. I know you.
He high on sugar right now.
We got Restless Use Productions in the building. Thank you for that. So thank you guys for being here with us tonight. Now we're going to jump into the artist section. We always actually want to jump into the artist section first. Again, artist and writer. And that's the thing. When we jump into these aspects of it, we get an artist and writer interpretation. The guy that we're talking about this week is none other than Dave Gibbons. Don't know if a lot of people don't know his work, from The Watchmen. He did a couple runs with the Green Lantern. He did a couple things with Batman, Superman as well. So he's basically made his run all throughout the DC universe, and he also did a couple of things for Marvel as well. He gets a lot of artist credit, but he's more so writing credit, but artist credit as well, because he's done a lot of great artwork, especially for like The Watchmen. But yeah, like I said, we try to feature each week an artist work. Exactly, Dark Horse as well. So he's done a lot. He's basically always said that Hal Jordan has always been, like, of all the work that he's actually done, Hal Jordan has been the most interesting. But the thing is, when we talk about writing, the most interesting part about Dave Gibbons is the simple fact that, we talk about like his take on Hal Jordan. He was like how much he loved the character, but they never, or they wouldn't let him continue his run, especially on ideas that he had, but used a couple of his ideas even cinematically within that film, even though it was horrible. And he talks about, again, how at that time, rest in peace though, but at that time, basically, a lot of his work, again, work for hire. We talk about this stuff where a lot of it was basically work for hire until they get that notoriety. And then that's when companies want to kind of lock you down, on a case by case type of situation, more exclusive they want to say, well, look, we'll give you this and that, just to kind of keep you around. But he always talks about basically his work, prideful his work. And the thing is, DC gave him more of a run for Watchmen. How basically he was kind of tapped in on that was, definitely amazing. But again, you might be unfamiliar with his work, but if you actually have gotten a lot of issues of Green Lantern, Superman and stuff like that, then you know who this guy is. I'm gonna start with you first, Jedi Kid. Are you familiar with his work, bro?
Yeah. I have a lot of the old school Green Lantern books. I think I like at least 30 or 40 of them. I got a couple of Superman runs. His Dark Horse stuff with Star Wars. I got like a lot of his Star Wars stuff. And I think I have some of his Superman. I'm not sure, but I know I have heavy Green Lantern and Star Wars Dark Horse stuff. I like the way he drew, man. Kind of like nostalgic, like 70s, 80s type vibe with the way he drew stuff, whatever.
Like high profile.
Right. The way he used the uses of shadow and hues and make stuff look more realistic. I love the way he drew, man. But you could tell the Green Lantern was his baby, though, man. The Green Lantern run was definitely his baby. Yeah, I think that was. I didn't even, I didn't notice until you really said something. But thinking back about the books that I have, I'm like, Gibbons, he loved the Lantern, bro. You could tell.
He definitely did. Like, he felt as though, with him, he always felt as though like a lot of even what was told, even when he did like a couple of like his work with like Kurt Busiek, a lot of work that he did basically with him, and bringing like John Stewart to the forefront. But he always thought that like with Hal Jordan, Hal Jordan to him was like his Superman for DC. You know what I mean? And his Superman for the Lantern Corps, because he was just so submersed in the character itself and pretty much all the runs for it. So yeah, man, like I
think when he also like I think the personality he had for Hal was like a Superman / Buck Rogers type dude. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of vibe they gave with Hal Jordan,
because his take on Hal Jordan was like he was like that Boy Scout, but also that charming debonair character,
Buck Rogers type.
You know what I mean? Sort of like that. You know what I mean? So, definitely love his work and like his interpretation. You familiar with him on Butt Naked?
Yeah, for me, like I know, I know his work on Green Lantern, but for me, it's Watchmen. That's like what I think.
I forgot about
bro.
Him. And he was such good friends. He's such good friends with Alan Moore, and like that's even how he just reached out to him. He's like, hey, I want to work on whatever you're about to do, and so Moore like sent him the scripts and outlines and stuff for Watchmen, and then he just went to one of the editors that was going to be working with him at DC, and was like, I want to work on his next thing. And he's like, does he know that? Is he like, he's like, yeah. He's like, okay, it's yours. He's like, it's yours. And I mean, like, him, like,
so
it was a level, there was a level of kind of like, I don't know, brutality and grit with like what he did in Watchmen that you didn't see him doing in like Green Lantern. And so that's what I kind of gravitated more toward, because the stuff that he did in Watchmen, it had that like, I don't know, it had that like 60s and 70s kind of, you're thinking about like Ditko, and you're thinking about, it had that kind of like that vibe when it came to the kind of like almost space opera type of scenes, like something like this. But then also precursor to like a lot of what I really loved about like the 80s Daredevil, that you get in that kind of gritty, with Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. So he kind of like went back and forth. Like, I mean, you've got something like this with Manhattan. You've got then the next, you've got like this alley scene with like Rorschach, like, the way he went back and forth between those, but they still felt congruous. Like they were all a part of the same story. And it didn't feel like anything was out of place. That's what I really appreciated about his work. And I think that while comic lovers, especially if you're like a fan of the Green Lantern and stuff, will think of his artwork when it comes to those early Green Lantern runs, I feel like more people are going to recognize his work when it comes to Watchmen than anything else.
Yeah. Which a lot of his Watchmen, his interpretation of Watchmen, was really felt with not just the films, but even with like the HBO specials,
The show,
like with the earlier show, like the interpretation there, and what he was granted at that time, which makes it like so interesting with the character. It's like his characterization is more so his development was, I want to get so involved with each individual character so they're not kind of suffocated in the story. Whereas you can actually get a chance to see each chapter development within the characters, which then Zack Snyder even took the interpretation with his writing, which is hence why we got like almost a 3.5, 4 hour interpretation of these films, was because he wanted the characters to breathe. You know what I mean? So that's where, a lot of those influences, and even like Zack Snyder's take is derived from, Gibbons. And his approach to just wanting to actually have the writing and the characters have like their space, which is definitely a beautiful thing, but it's just like it gets too long.
Even that, but see, even how he did the Watchmen movie, that was all Gibbons, man. Like he broke down every character's background. Every character. That's why the movie was so damn long, but it was worth it. Because he broke down every character's background. The comedian was an asshole from the gate. Like, just, I thought he was gonna be, like a anti-hero type dude, but he was a dickhead the whole time. Like, I like, damn. But it's like he broke down everybody's story, which was dope. You know what I'm saying? And Snyder played it out perfectly on film, man.
Yeah, Snyder's interpretation wasn't. Because the thing is, the biggest thing is that he didn't want it to be lost in translation. With the characters itself. And definitely he did. Also, Dave gets. He did an awesome run on Martha Washington Goes to War. He's an excellent artist and storyteller. Definitely he is, man. Are you familiar with him, Miguel?
A little bit. So it's funny because when I did my Jon Stewart review. I like to do like a little bio of the character and stuff. His name actually kept popping up. And what I got from it that was, and I believe this is true to every person who has an emotional attachment to either their character or their work. But from what I gathered from what everybody said about him and all the stuff that I read, was that he had an emotional attachment to his character and the Green Lantern. So I actually have some of his early comic books, and it's funny because I did that Jon Stewart not too long ago, a couple months ago, and I started digging through my comics. I was like, oh man, I do got his stuff. So it's just kind of funny you brought him up. I'm not really too familiar with any of his work or anything like that. I just know I have some of his comic books, and like I said, from after doing the research on the Jon Stewart stuff, and his name came up for Hal. A lot of people like really gave him props for his work that he did with the Green Lantern. So definitely shout out to him and his work. But that's about, I don't really know too much about him. It's just funny that you started talking. I was like, oh man, I remember that guy.
Bro, his Green Lantern stuff, dog, was like a cross between, like I said, like Buck Rogers, Superman, and maybe a little bit of James Bond, dog. Like it was just space opera, space cop, but it was like Hal Jordan was so smooth, man. Like it was like Nothing. It was like watching like a freaking, I don't know, like I said, if you're a Buck Rogers fan, it was like reading Buck Rogers, bro, in the comics with there's a guy with a cool ring. He could fly around space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was dope.
Yeah.
His Dark Horse stuff, with Star
Especially for
Wars.
Star Wars, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yo.
Because like even like his Dark Horse work was highly influenced even on like the current Darth Vader run.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So a
Yep.
lot of that was actually
Yep.
and moved over from Dark
Yep.
Horse,
Yep.
It's so,
Yep.
highly influenced off of his work. And that's the
Yep.
thing is it's like those interpretations, like an artist's interpretation, bro, like it's crazy how much, even when passed on, that influences goes, but you just wish they would have got their just due
Yeah,
around the
man.
time
Yeah.
when they were here, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah. It sucks, man.
yeah, definitely. But anybody, again, if you aren't familiar with his work, you probably have some of his work in your
Don't
collection.
even know it. Don't even
And
know
don't
it.
even
that was
actually know.
me. That was me. I like had no idea, and I
Yep.
started digging. I was like, "Oh crap! Here's one. Here's one."
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
for sure. Mhm.
But
That's
I
how
knew
I
it.
was. But you know what? That's literally how I was, to be quite honest, years ago when it came to, again, Daredevil, David Mack, and a lot of stuff that he actually did for Echo. I didn't know. I was literally blind to it, that I didn't know that at first he, because I knew what he did with Daredevil, but then going into Echo, I was like, nah. But then the work speaks for itself. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck. You're not really
Yep.
familiar with a lot of that shit, bro.
Yep.
Like you don't.
Yeah.
It takes you getting to know these, just the artists and the writers. I pride myself on knowing these motherfuckers, bro, because at the end of the day, like we talk about it all the time, just like the conversation, it's like it's good to give them their props, especially when they're just due, bro. You want to give it to them.
Yeah.
Just got in a nice David Mack cover.
Let me see.
Oh god, this guy always finding good stuff.
This is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite covers from the
That is dope, man.
the End of Days miniseries that David Mack and Brian Michael Bendis did together.
Damn.
So I just got this in the other day.
And it's a 9.8. Oh my god, that's beautiful.
Well, I mean, it's a modern book. It's not difficult to get this in a 9.8. I mean, this came out in 2013. I think.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not like, modern books come. You should be getting 9.8s or closer to.
Is that a variant cover or that's the one that came? The first?
No, that is a variant cover for issue
variant.
number 8.
I figured out.
David Mack did like all the covers for that whole miniseries, like main and variants and stuff. So that's a variant cover, but it's just been one of my favorites, and I picked that up. Actually, like you said, it just came in like 2-3 days ago.
That's awesome, man.
Dope, super dope. So again, if you want to know anything there is to know, do your research. Recipes, Dave Gibbons gave us some memorable, incredible work.
Great work.
As always, will be missed. And your work basically is still legendary, speaks for itself. Again, we try to do these artist runs, pretty much every week, as much as we can, like just to kind of give them their shout out and, give them their flowers when it comes to their work. And that's just basically where I exist. You know what I mean? It's again, if we don't, like what was said on Friday, Miguel, like if we are the ones who can basically control, and we're word of mouth when it comes to these artists and giving them the flowers that they need, and this is what we have to continue to do. So
True. Absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely wanted to do that.
You'd be shocked at how many of these like comic book creators that will engage with you too when you show that like level of appreciation. I mean, there are some that like if you're at a show, they'll just they'll talk with you for like hours.
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
Like if you're ever at a convention and Al Milgram is there, dude, he'll talk with you for 2 hours. He will just shoot the shit about comics with you, tell you stories. He'll tell you stories. David Mack, one of the nicest guys you meet. You're at his booth and he'll just talk to you like whatever we talked about.
You both are kindred spirits. You have bald heads, so of course.
Don't worry, you'll get there one day. You'll get there. Well, like even David Mack, David Mack was talking to me about like, about his his thoughts on like Echo and how he would love to even come back and do like another mini series with Echo at some point and Marvel and stuff. He was talking about the whatchamacallit, the series that he and Brian Michael Bendis did called Cover, which is fucking phenomenal. It was like a 6-issue miniseries, and how that was being turned into an animated show. Was supposed to be at HBO Max, but then when they got bought, everything got kind of shuffled. So now they are still going to do it, but they're working on doing it somewhere else. And he even said that like they're working on doing a volume 2, like in print, of that, like, you know, maybe even a revival of like Kabuki and stuff. Like, so you'll be able to talk to these guys, and they will, you know, show that how much they appreciate the love that like we have for their art and for what they do, you know, coming on streams, right? Like, you know, they do stuff that you wouldn't expect, and then you're like, oh shit, like these really, you know, even like on Instagram, like Lael knows too. It's like, but like David Mack will constantly reshare stuff. Like if you show, you know, him love, Brian Michael Bendis does it. You know, an artist that like that, I got that Batman and Moon Knight print that I was telling you guys about earlier, Johnny Desjardins. He like, I had shared his stuff and like tagged him, and dude like messaged me and was like, thank you so much. The guys that created the creators of Hitomi, that one that I told you guys about, that like Japanese feudal Japan one, they like reached out to me because they were so appreciative of that, like the video that I made. Dude sent me, you know, a rare variant copy of issue number 1 as a thank you. Like the creator of it like signed it and sent it to me. Like I didn't ask him for stuff like that. Like they're very appreciative, and they will engage with people like through social media and stuff a lot more than you think. And it's that you're going to get a lot more, you know, engagement with them than you're going to get from Robert Downey Jr., you know, because you like Iron Man or something, right? So when you show them the love, they appreciate it, because like those guys are like rock stars when they're at cons, right? Out on the street, they're just like, you know,
regular Joe,
everyday guy that nobody's making a big fuss about. They're not like big Hollywood actors or something like that. But anybody who's a creative and makes something, like, you appreciate when people appreciate your work. So that's one of the really cool things about this hobby, is that you can have a lot more contact with the people creating the things that you love than most other industries.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: who if you had I don't know, pick 2 favorite comic book artists, who would they be?
Oh man, Jim Lee,
David Mack, number 1. David Mack, number 1, and then there are a handful that there would be a toss-up after that. It would be Alex Ross, Alex Maleev is another one. I love his watercolor work. So those ones would be pretty high up there.
How about you, Leo?
Oh, artist-wise?
Artist-wise, yeah.
That's tough. Ooh. I got 3 that I love.
It's hard.
Right off the rip.
Oh,
go ahead, Jedi Pimp. Go ahead, since he's taking first.
Yeah, bro. Because this one is, bro.
Alex Ross, Jim Lee, and I love Todd McFarlane stuff. I call me old fashioned, but that's my top 3 right there, man. Yeah, Alex Ross puts you in the place. Like the way he draws, bro. It's like you open a book and you fall in it. That's how Alex Ross draws, dog. Like it's just unbelievable.
See, here's the thing, bro, because like I said, I'm always going to be like that. Oh, because I mean, of course, you know, it's your Jim Lee's, you know, classic Steve Ditko. You know what I mean? Because I always love, you know, Ditko's runs. You know what I mean? So when we're talking about classic artists, you know, it's always going to be, you know, like your classic, you know, Ditko, you know, type of, you know, and definitely, you know, Alex, you can't, you be remiss if you didn't mention, you know, character or artist.
Gotta
like,
say
you know,
Alex, bro.
It's almost like a cheat to say his name,
right?
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, a cheat. You know, it's a cheat to basically say a lot of individuals who, you know, it's like even such as like a Todd McFarlane. It's your go-tos. You know,
Mhm.
like there's always going to be like your go-to individuals. David Finch is another artist who I love. I
Finch is
Dude,
love
so
his
cool. I met him like 3 times. I got a
his
lot of his
Moon
work on the
Knight,
wall,
his
bro.
Moon Knight was next
Yeah.
level. His
Mhm.
I
Moon Knight
love
was
Finch.
absolutely next
I
level.
Bro,
love
hold
Finch,
up. Let me show
bro.
you this Superman. Hold up. I gotta show you this. Hold up.
Renz
Mhm.
is a good one. Libra Mayho.
Libra Mayho,
Mayho.
definitely.
I feel
Definitely
Libra
Libra.
Mayho is one of those things that I think people love it or hate it because it's a very realistic, very gritty.
I
But
have a book of him and his wife.
yeah,
Right, I think it's him and his wife, and it shows all their work, especially from like the 1993 Marvel masterpieces and all that. It's literally a book just based off of them,
he did
and it's
so.
freaking crazy.
Did
Mhm.
this great series
Finch,
of
bro.
which one is that?
Finch. And you can
Oh
hold it
no!
both
Oh
Can
yeah,
you
ways.
yeah.
blow
You
that
showed us
up?
that
Yeah.
before. Yeah,
Yeah. And you can hold it both ways. Look
Yeah,
at
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's Finch.
that's
Finch
That's
is
my
a
awesome.
guy,
beast,
bro.
bro.
That's
That's
my
Yo,
crazy.
guy, bro.
such
That's
a
my guy.
such a beast, dog, and such
Like
a
I said,
cool dude.
his Moon Knight was like I absolutely loved that in the 2006.
I started to buy
run
that
for
one he
Moon Knight.
did, that
And
Moon Knight
come on,
poster,
man.
bro.
We be remiss not to mention late great George Perez. You
Oh, no
definitely want
doubt.
to
Yeah,
always put him in
No
that
doubt.
category as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
can't
Like,
wait because so Libra Mayho is he's coming to Fan Expo Boston in August. So I've got some stuff that I want to get signed by him. He's done some great Batman stuff. He did a line of covers for Ed Brubaker's run on Daredevil back in the day that are phenomenal. He draws a really good Spider-Man too. People underestimate his like how good he was with drawing Spider-Man. So Libra Mayho is great. And he actually A Vicious Circle, that miniseries that he has with Matt Tomlinson, or Mattson Tomlin is phenomenal. So I definitely want to get some of that stuff signed later, like in August when he's here. But all of those, Alex, I mean, I've got a bunch of Alex Ross now that I think about it, I don't think I have any like big George Perez
I
art
do.
in my collection.
I do. I have 3 George Perez pieces. One on my wall. I was one basically not a commission piece, but it was a piece that he did that was inspired by a commission piece that I actually have
Can't
and
forget
got
Starlin
signed
either.
by him. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, Starlin, definitely, man.
I've been tempted to start a sketchbook to like what people do, like bring like a blank like sketchbook to
Oh, my
cons
boy does
and
that.
and
Yeah,
Yo,
just
will
have
they'll draw on
and
it?
oh
yeah.
yeah, I mean it's just like
My boy has
Never thought
doing a
about that,
commission or a
bro.
remark or something like that. Like people go, and sometimes it's like a super small thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
yeah.
more involved. It just depends on. But like
I
sometimes
never
you
thought
like
about
they
doing
can
that.
do it
That's a
right
good
there,
idea.
like quick. Sometimes you got to drop your sketchbook off and you pick it up like the end of the day or something like
Yeah.
that. So depending on how many you want to get, you may only be able to get 1 or 2, depending on how long the con is and how long they take to do it. But I know people who have like sketchbooks where they've got like 40, 50, 60 pages
There's me and Finch right there.
with great, art from people. Yeah.
Cool as hell.
Yeah, my boy has a sketchbook and he loves the Titans, so he has a different artist draw a Titan in every different page. So
Oh
the
man, that's
whole
dope.
sketchbook is Titans, but the variation of every single artist. So
Yeah.
he might have Robin as somebody. You know what I mean? It's super cool when you go through
I
it.
never thought about doing that. That's a
Yeah.
great idea, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like that way. It's like you don't necessarily like it's personal to you, and you can at the end when you look at that when it's complete, you've got a story with that, and that's something special for you.
Yeah,
But you're not worried about, oh well, if I want to get this book signed, like do I want to go get like somebody from CGC to witness it so then I can get it slabbed and stuff, or am I just going to keep it raw for myself? Or the sketchbook is a way it's like, or if you completely just brain fart, you're like, oh shit, Frank Miller's here and I don't have a book that from my collection to have him sign, but I got my sketchbook. I'll have him do something that, you can do stuff like that. So it's a cool idea that I haven't done before, but I think I might.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good ad. I never thought about doing that, bro. I always buy their stuff or bring books. Or buy
You are not wrong, Lewis. You are not wrong. Yes.
What'd he say?
The Prime 1 Libra Mayho Joker is a
Oh.
really good piece.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to touch on before we get to our main headlining story, I want to actually touch on this real quick. Classic run, one of like, and I've been wanting to actually, because it's been probably one of the most important, an event that was incredible, that honestly going forward from this event kind of changed the structure of even the X-Men stories that were actually told after this particular run. And again, I wanted to do this months ago, but I just like, you know what, let me just do it now. We could touch on it briefly. And that was the Age of Apocalypse X-Men.
Man, I got that whole run, boy.
Bro.
I got that.
I got that whole run, boy.
This run.
Woo.
And the thing
Classic.
is, I remember, bro, I remember and I think this was back in either 93 or 94. It was either probably around that time, even afterwards. So when they basically released the run, or when they were leading up to the run, you would actually get a chance to see the character pages, how they were actually going to do it, how they were, and you had no idea, like, how they were going to kind of make this, fit, and the characters that you basically knew how they were, and how they reworked the characters within his story, of course, making Cyclops, evil, making him, Wolverine his nemesis. Wolverine basically deciding that
burned his hand off.
Yeah, but he decided he didn't even want it to grow back, so it was an eye for an arm type of situation. Cyclops took his arm, he took Cyclops one of his eyes.
But the funny thing,
yeah,
if you go back and you reread this, because this is from 1995, and
95,
if
95.
you go back and you reread this, it's weird how your brain kind of fills in the gaps, right? Because they never actually say that Cyclops lost his eye to Wolverine, or that Wolverine lost his hand to Cyclops' optic blast. They imply it, but then leave it, because it was one of those things where they even said they didn't want to come right out and say it. They just wanted it to be like floating there for people to kind of pick up on their own.
Because Wolverine mentions it vaguely.
It's like, because I always thought, is like, I was like, oh yeah, they absolutely like showed that that's how it happened.
Played
and
it.
Then when I heard that in an interview one time, I went back and I looked and I was like, son of a bitch, they never actually showed
because there was a
Right.
conversation that they had, and Wolverine would like poke jabs at that.
It's a vague notion.
Because it was
Vague
funny
notion.
because there's a again there was an interview. This version of Logan, right? So one of the writers was going, nice. That's awesome.
My god!
And see the way this actually even came to be. Is that a custom piece, or
is
no? This
fire.
is from is it Iron Kite?
Wow, bro!
Iron Kite Studios, but this is pretty dope.
That is dope.
Yeah,
that's that's like a quarter scale, like maquette.
Yeah, it's 1/4. Yeah, 1/4.
Yeah,
yep.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, man, it's pretty dope. It has a couple different change outs and stuff, but I had to take it down for my DTOF. I was like, oh man, should I be doing this?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I love this. It's funny because when I saw it, I was like, this is dope. And then I got it in hand, and I was like, man, this is really nice. Like, there's a difference when you have it in hand.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
But it's dope. It's just a different variation of Wolverine, and the nice thing is that he's kind of looking down on you, so you could have him displayed somewhere up high.
Up high, yeah.
We know as collectors, it's hard to display stuff, so I'm kind of looking for those high pieces or the low pieces.
Yeah.
That's such a celebrated. Right,
Yeah.
That's such a celebrated version of Logan because it's different than all the others. But the funny thing is, in that, like I was saying in this interview, one of the writers that was kind of like spearheading stuff at the time in the X books, he was going into a meeting and he called I think it was Kubert. I think it was Adam Kubert was the artist that he called.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, hey, I need a sketch of Wolverine for a pitch meeting that I'm about to go into. Can you fax me something real quick? Fax machine for any of you youngins out there who don't know. That was like really kind of before email.
Before email, baby. Before email.
Like,
Generation
So
X, baby.
he's like, "Can you fax me a sketch for Wolverine?" And so Kubert did a sketch with this design, and he's like, and at the last minute, I just decided, I was like, you know what? Let's just chop his arm off, and so chop his hand off, and so he did that, and he sent it to the writer, and he went into the pitch meeting, and everybody loved it, and so then that was like, okay, well now he's missing a hand, and they worked it in. And they even said, and it was funny, Larry Hama, who Lewis asked, who was the artist on this run. They had a bunch of different artists, because you got to remember, this was in 95, and Lael had mentioned they showed some like character pages and stuff in advance, but it wasn't the same as it is today, where like we have the internet, and so we know shit that's coming a lot of times before.
Before
teased and previews and stuff like that. This is the 90s, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is like literally you just started getting like AOL dial-up.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? It was just in the like you've got mail era, okay? So we didn't know all this shit in advance. And so Marvel just decided, you know what? Everybody's going to go into the comic book shop this week, and instead of their regular X books, we just replaced them with this.
Yep.
And everybody was confused. People were like, what the fuck is where's my regular X books? Like, and it was all with this art style and these titles and these characters that didn't look anything like they looked before, and we're like, wait, what the fucking, and Professor X is dead, and what the hell's going on? People
Rose married to Magneto.
All of the X books,
and
it was just kind of dropped on us, and you didn't know what was going on, and then you read them, and you're like, oh shit, this is pretty cool. But it was across like 8 or 9 or 10 different titles, different X books at the time. But they even said there's like this little documentary about this.
It was 10 books, I think it was.
They had the start point and they had the end point. That's it. This was not mapped out like crazy detail like a Jonathan Hickman in today's era. They had the start point, they had the end point, and then they had separate writers, like creative teams, writers and artists on each book, and they're like, have at it. And then they all basically came up with their own shit and then riffed on what somebody else did in another book before them. And that's how, and the whole thing came together. I don't know how, because that sounds like it would not work at all. But somehow it just fucking came together. They all just started fitting together and being like, oh, I like what you're doing here. I'm going to do this. And then the next person ran with it. And this turned out to be epic and turned out to be a game changer for X-Men and mutants in Marvel Comics. I don't know how it worked out like that, though. That's what makes this thing so crazy, is that they just dropped it like a hammer on people without knowing, and it worked without even having a full-fledged outline, a full-fledged plan. They just had the start point, the end point, and it was fucking magic.
With no idea as to how it was going to kind of like, because there was no, like you said, there was no actual plan. A lot of it went but I think the directive was, the only thing that they had in the very beginning was that they knew that Charles Xavier had to die.
They had the start point and they had the ending. And then it was like, we've got some ideas in the middle, but like, let's see what everybody comes up with. And it just, which is, you got to understand too, for anybody out there, Lael knows it something, that I run in my business is, if you're a creative, you get a vision, it's hard to collaborate with other people. And if they don't necessarily have the exact same vision than you, it's like,
gonna be a problem.
Even if what they want to do is really cool, it's like, I like that, but I'm more passionate about this thing. And so for all of these writers and artists to not have this very full-fledged plan of like, boom, A, B, C, D, all the way through Z, this is what we're doing, to just say, okay, you guys do your thing, you guys do your thing, and then to have it actually all come together and feel cohesive, because you didn't get the sense that, oh, this is disjointed and this wasn't like planned out. This was not the sequel trilogy. Okay. This was what maybe Lucasfilm wanted to happen. With the sequel trilogy, where we don't have a plan, we're just gonna hope, it all comes together.
We'll wing it.
Right.
We'll wing
right.
it.
We'll wing it.
And it
We'll wing
works
it.
for Age of Apocalypse. It did not work so much for the sequel trilogy.
The way they wrote this story, man, you thought that they took like real time to
Real
like
good
put this thing together,
time.
man. And the story was amazing, dude. Like those writers and artists together, yo.
A lot of what this is good. A lot of what this is so good at is what I feel like is missing from the X books right now. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Wolverine like a pissed off pirate from the future. Yeah.
Bro, like they I mean, because this
Yeah.
was the first time we got the interpretation of the X-Man
The
himself.
X-Man,
was,
yep.
you know, Nathan himself at that
that's when he
point.
first dropped.
Yeah, this was the
That's
first time
right.
that we actually got
That's
this
right.
character. And again, he was
That's
like the
right.
messiah of,
Yep.
you know, the
Yep.
most powerful version of Cable,
Right.
because dang, Cable wasn't in this. We got
Nope.
Nathan. You know what I
Nathan.
mean?
Yep.
This was the
At
first
that
time
point.
that you got Sabretooth as like not a full-fledged villain too.
Yep.
He was actually like a
Exactly.
good guy there.
Yep.
Yep.
Right?
And they
Yep.
basically brought Wild Child in here
Wild
as basically
Child.
As his
somebody
like
like
pet
his,
dog on a
son.
leash.
yeah, like
too.
basically his
Mhm.
pet at that point. You
Now,
know,
did they say he was like? I thought Wild Child was like his son, but
nah,
No,
it wasn't his
he was
son.
basically just like his pet. Like he had
Yeah.
literally had him on a leash. Like
oh
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but
Yeah,
okay, my
he was
bad.
like the
Okay.
temperamental version of him, you know,
Right.
of you know, at that point. So
I
Right,
love
right.
the design for Sinister here
Mhm.
too. Like he's
Yeah,
Sinister, we got
yeah.
Dark
Sinister,
Beast.
Apocalypse,
Yeah.
and Magneto just look so damn good.
Dude.
Yeah,
But I like Magneto's. He had the white suit too, not just the red. He had the white suit, the white,
Yeah.
all
Well,
white suit too.
He's done
The-
that a couple. He's had that a couple of times.
Yeah.
throughout
yeah, he definitely
yeah.
did that a
He's
couple
had it
times.
recently, actually.
Yeah, and it again, it was because remember when the run ended, there were a few characters from this run that snuck into the main Marvel universe.
Yep, that's true.
Dark Beast himself actually
Dark
ended
Beast.
up.
Yep.
Nathan himself ended up basically in the universe as well.
Mhm.
So we're not a lot of transitions, but the reason why I like this book is because of that. This changed everything.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
literally, this changed everything that we knew at that time. You know, the scope.
We got Bishop.
Yeah, bro. Like
Mhm,
it was a
mhm.
huge scope. They changed everything that we
Mhm.
knew at that point.
Yep.
Which, you know, again, it was so important because again, we were used to basically seeing like a lot of the not same stories, but things that followed the narrative. This was something that was, you know, completely, you know, off the racks. Because then following, you know, this particular run is when we got, you know, the obliteration of the like a mutant genocide because of Wanda.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know
yeah.
what I mean?
Wanda
Yeah.
for
But the
Like,
thing that
no more
that-
mutants.
The
He
thing that
erased every
is
damn
so
body.
good about this though is the X books in general have always been, they've always offered social commentary. They've always been a lens into like the civil rights of the era.
Yeah.
And the X-Men were basically the people who were persecuted, the people who were
Exactly.
discriminated, the people
Yep.
who were seen as less than, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And then, you know, in a lot of ways you had the, you know, if you're likening them to like the civil rights movement in the 60s, obviously not by color, but
Yeah.
like Xavier was basically Martin
Luther King.
and then
Magneto
you
was
have
Malcolm.
Magneto as Malcolm, right?
Mhm, mhm.
But this one then flips it. It's like, all right, well, neither one is necessarily overtaking the other.
Yep.
You know, right? That's a whole back and forth. But what happens when one does? And in this case, it's like, okay, Magneto's vision, because Xavier dies, Magneto's vision is what takes over. And then instead, what you have is this lesson that if the people who are persecuted and discriminated against, if they come to power and still harbor all that anger, then they're going to essentially become the thing that they were fighting against and hated before. And so that's not the 100% militant way is not necessarily the way to achieve that dream, because you're still at war. It's just the scales, the balances, you know, has tipped in one favor instead of the other. And that's what made Charles Xavier's dream and vision so important, that it wasn't just let's do what Magneto says and let's just like dominate the world.
Right.
Let's try and find a way for us to live in balance and live together.
Like
Live together.
Human for life,
Which
right?
we
together.
Like
know
black, white, male, female, like trying to
Exactly.
find
Right.
that balance.
Right.
And that's
right.
a great
Yeah.
social commentary that the X books have always provided, which is also that and that vision that Xavier, had in the early, days of the X-Men is also why I hate Xavier's character in the current books because he's just so far removed from that origin now in a way that I personally, I mean, if other people love it, great, more power to you. For me personally, I just hate Xavier now because
This
so
was Bendis'
far.
run, right?
No, right now.
No, not Bendis, not Bendis.
Right
Right
now,
now.
it's
You talking about for now?
Hickman's run. That's what
Hickman's
I'm
well,
doing
saying.
it
coming
now.
out of Hickman. So so
Hickman's not writing it anymore, but he's the one who started this journey.
this whole path. He's the one who basically started two characters on the path that they're on now that I absolutely hated, and that is Beast and Professor X.
Yeah.
That I've absolutely
Beast,
hated
Professor
what they've
X, I don't like what he basically did with Apocalypse. Like, I'm not really like, even after I've read, even going into like House of X, Powers of X, the whole run, everything that's been going on right now, it's just a lot of it is an scapegoat. It's too convoluted of certain stories. There's too much going on right now. But then at the same time, it's like the Xavier that we're used to is non-existent. And I'm wondering
so
why this is, Hickman's run, why he's continuing, or not him because he's out of it, but they're continuing with that run. They're still following his
Honestly,
run.
I think like people talk about Hickman's X-Men so much with this reverence. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of his run on X-Men. I think his run on the Avengers is amazing. I love his run on the Avengers.
That's his lane. That's his lane as the Avengers.
I think his runs on both the Avengers and Fantastic Four far surpass what he did with the X-Men. The X-Men, it just got so convoluted. And I feel like they're still trying to follow that roadmap that he laid out. And me personally, I just think he fundamentally altered characters that I've been reading for decades that I'm just like,
that's what I hate when they do that, man.
That Professor X, it's like, I don't know. I just don't like what he's done with those characters, and it hasn't felt organic to me. Like, okay, this makes sense. Like some characters just go through a dark turn, but you can see it coming, and it's like, you know what? They're going to a place I never thought they would go, but I get it because they've laid out the groundwork for it. Yeah. But with Beast and with Professor X, it just feels so out of character and not earned that it's just really been a struggle for me. With the modern X books.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, hopefully it can, or we will end up back, to back to basics when it comes to, because I don't even like, I definitely don't like what they did to Mara Jade. Like, I mean, not Mara Jade, Moira McTaggart.
Yeah.
I don't like what they basically did to her because now, I mean, before where, she had her only ties was just, genetic studies and the advancement of his dream of trying to basically make sure that the X-Men were safe. In this particular run, and lately, they've given her the power of reincarnation. So every time she dies,
she's a mutant.
Like she's a mutant.
Yeah,
they made her a mutant. So every time she dies,
it resets the timeline.
It resets the timeline. So basically, she has so many different lives. You know what I mean? So I hate that run. Like I hate that idea of it.
Well, because they also turned her into a villain as a result. And it's just And it was like central to like the Sins of Sinister event that they just did. And like, I get that, but I want to go, what I miss, and I've been vocal. I've not been a fan of the Krakoan era in general. What I miss is the X-Men in the fucking X Mansion playing softball.
Exactly.
Right? Then dealing with like Magneto or Apocalypse or Sinister or whoever comes, whatever the threat is at that time, but it being that rather than, because what's happened is instead of it being the X-Men and the core of what they're really about, you get this they're trying to make it this kind of like political thriller type thing, but what ends up happening is instead of the X-Men being people that you're rooting for because they're trying to, fight for the oppressed and the discriminated against and stuff, instead of that, a lot of the X-Men, a lot of the mutants kind of come across as dicks because they're trying to like start this new mutant nation on Krakoa, and as a result, they've got to do a lot of fucked up stuff, but not in a way that you're like, oh, this is edgy or this is cool, but more in a way where it's like, I just don't like your character anymore. Like you're not it to the point where they in some issues it seems like for the longest time Xavier has seemed more like a cult leader than a leader of the X-Men or mutants in general.
He's just so vague and like it seems like empty now for some reason. Like Xavier always treated him like a family unit that could kick ass. Like
I want to see Xavier back in the wheelchair.
Right.
Like actually trying to help groups of like young
mutants
rather than trying to like politically maneuver, a mutant nation to, sell, drugs to other countries. And it's just, the Krakoan age just has not been for me. And I've read every single book in it trying, and there are some things I really love the new team lineup that they've got that they just launched on X-Force when they just kind of mixed up the lineup there. You've got Sage and you've got Colossus and Laura Kinney, Wolverine, and it's a really solid lineup. I really dig that. You got Domino, so that's really good. I'm hoping you got Benjamin Percy who's writing that, and I love him, so I think that can be really good. But yeah, they've got to get away from like we have to do a big X book crossover event every 3 months. Because they just get convoluted and it's like one thing into the next, and they start to just lose meaning.
Yeah. And again, it's when you don't know what to do with. It's not to say he doesn't know what to do with these characters. It's just that, again, he's with Hickman, we know he's always with this edge on how can I basically take a story and put my own spin in it, make it more interesting, but at the same time, he's good for it. All right, let me just dip. I started, let me just dip.
Yeah.
And it's yo, come on.
You finish the rest.
Also, just give me a storyline that doesn't involve more time travel.
Yeah.
Because every fucking thing is about time travel.
I'm over that.
Yeah,
enough.
I'm definitely over that. So
again,
unless you're gonna figure out a good way to use Bishop again, stop with the time.
With the time travel. Exactly.
Yeah. So this is, like I said, I wanted to bring focus to this because, like I said, it's definitely one of the best. One of the best title runs the X-Men had, even like since Fatal Attractions. I definitely love Fatal Attractions, but definitely an amazing run. If you don't know this, if you haven't actually read it, you can actually still pick it up.
Is good.
Yeah, the series is definitely a dope series. So just get yourself interested in it if you haven't already. Pick you some comics and read this, man. Next up, last topic of the night, though. Because we interesting topic, like this comes up a lot. Brendan was very passionate about this the other day. Like when some shit pops off, he'd be like, "Bro, let me tell you what happened." Literally that's how it is. Like, bro, let me tell you what happens. I'm like,
talking about breast milk.
Let me grab my popcorn. Nope. So definitely yo, so
this is too sweet.
Which is an interesting topic is like modern comics now. We hear with modern comics now, we know that there's been changes. There's a lot of changes when it comes to modern. We were just talking about like one of the biggest and the most horrific change with even the Miles Morales run is just like, I'm off, because just by the writing on that is just like not the greatest. And I'm like, come on, it started with the change, and I'm so glad that they went back to his, the costume that we know and love, or some
that other suit
was a bag of shit. I don't know why they did that. And it was since they released.
I stopped reading it because of that suit, bro.
Since they released that suit, it was trash. But they got back to form. They decided to say, you know what, let's fix what was broken and do something better. and I'm glad they did, because it was a bag of shit. But yeah, we talk about these things definitely with modern comics now, but also people's interpretation. There's a lot of good that comes out of it, but because people may be upset of how like certain character runs have been because of that, and because of their connection to a character, then everything else in modern comics is shit. Everybody else has to suffer. Every other book that's out right now is a bag of shit, and there's no important runs. And we talked about that the other day, and I was like, yo, like that is definitely an interesting topic, because how often do people get caught up in that? Like, if your character is done dirty, you're so butthurt because of it, then everything that Marvel or DC releases that's modern right now is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just basic, and it becomes a discussion back and forth with a lot of people. Brendan, tell them what your situation sort of was.
So I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, comic book fan, big Daredevil fan. Like, we have different tastes with a lot of stuff, even though he's, a big Daredevil fan like me, but like he tends to go like pretty much just superhero from the big two. I like that, but I like non-superhero stuff. I like the indie stuff. I like, Something is Killing the Children. I like Department of Truth, that kind of stuff too. But, it said something, and I heard this from plenty of other people too. It's like modern comic book stories suck and they're so bad. And if Marvel and DC and other publishers would write better stories, they would sell more books. And he specifically cited like Amazing Spider-Man and Hulk sucking. Okay. And I was like, all right, but have you read this? I'm rattling off like 10, 12 different books. No, none of them. And I'm like, all right, but we can't, like Lael had said, and like, because I had talked to him about this like right after, I was like, we can't just judge all of modern comic books based on one or two characters that you like that you don't feel like are being written well right now, and therefore all modern comics suck. Because I'll tell you, and I said this to you guys backstage, this month alone, I spent probably the equivalent of like a die-cast Iron Man hot toy on comics. Okay. I would not do that if they sucked. All right. There are tons of good stories out there. For indie comics right now, there has never been a better era for great storytelling in indie comics than there is right now, with Boom Studios, Scout, Titan, AWA, Image. Like, there is phenomenal storytelling in indie comics right now. But like I said, where, people are kind of looking at one or two books and then kind of making a blanket statement about the entire industry without reading all these other amazing titles that are out there. And they're coming out with these, they're coming up with these kind of preconceived notions that's being fueled by social media, by YouTube, right? The case in point is, I was watching a podcast earlier today, okay? And now one of the things that Marvel has kind of revealed, right, before it actually happens, they've even told us the issue. It's the next issue. It's coming out, the next issue of Amazing Spider-Man, issue 26. This isn't a spoiler because they've full out said this to the world and they've shown some art from it. Kamala Khan dies.
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Marvel
dies
in the next issue of Amazing Spider-Man. And I'm watching this podcast, and they're talking about how bullshit that is. And now, I don't really like the announcing the death beforehand necessarily.
Yeah.
But there was a 25-minute video that they had, 25-minute segment, and 23 minutes of them were just kind of shitting on this. Okay, like, it's a horrible idea. Then at the like 23, 24 minute mark of the 25-minute segment, they're like, now, we haven't seen any of this because it hasn't come out yet, so we don't know, but like, hopefully they do it well and it doesn't suck. But it's like, you just spent 23 minutes shitting on this thing, and only in the last 90 seconds did you say, but hopefully it doesn't suck.
True, yeah.
And acknowledge that you don't know anything other than they just said. Not only that, but one of the two individuals, all right, and I'm not trying to like shit on him or anything, but this is like this is my point, is one of those two people had, was up to date with ASM. The other guy was like, now, admittedly, I only read a couple Marvel books, and I haven't really read much Marvel in the last like 3, 4, 5 years because I got frustrated and I just don't think they're writing good stuff anymore. So I haven't really read anything. So you guys are more up on it than I am. I'm like,
so you can't complain.
You just shit on this for 20 minutes.
Yeah, you can't complain.
But you're not even up to date on this run. And so he didn't even know, because he's like, why are you killing Ms. Marvel and Amazing Spider-Man? Why is she even, it's like, well, she actually has been in this run as like an intern at Oscorp. Okay. So she has been in the background of this stuff, but they're shitting on all this. And I'm like, they were, just talking about it was a bad idea. It's bad writing, but writing that is bad that you haven't read. So how do you know that it's bad writing? Because guess what? And they were talking about how deaths in comic books don't necessarily mean anything anymore. And that there is an argument to be made.
That's been for years.
That though. But again, it's comics. Everybody comes back eventually.
That's years.
Right? Yeah. The only two people who have never come back from deaths in comics are Gwen Stacy, except an alternate version of her.
Alternate. Yeah.
And then Uncle Ben. Everybody else.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right. Or like Batman's parents, but even them, alternate versions have come back.
Alternate versions. Yeah.
So that's what it's like. Here's a recent example. The Death of Doctor Strange was done really well. Okay. They had a mini series coming up that was literally fucking called The Death of Doctor Strange. So you knew motherfucker died. Okay. But they wrote it in a way where it was still compelling and you were still into this story. 5-issue miniseries of The Death of Doctor Strange. And guess what? At the end of that, he was still fucking dead.
Yep.
Right? And then they go into the next new run just called Strange. And Clea is the Sorcerer Supreme, right? Jen McKay's writing this, doing a great job. People were like, oh, that's going to suck. And everybody was like, oh my God, this is amazing. That issue, that was like 8 or 10 issues of Clea as the Sorcerer Supreme, and that Strange title was great. By the end of that, Stephen Strange is back, and now we've got a brand new run. Stephen, of Doctor Strange, okay?
Which so we knew at that time,
wasn't going to.
And they were going to stay. They got to bring Strange back. Everybody knew that.
But it was the thing is, it was a vehicle to basically.
Story.
It was the story itself was a good vehicle to highlight how capable Clea was as. Even at that time, as Sorcerer Supreme.
And I'm sure that had something to do with the fact that Charlize Theron showed up at the end of Multiverse.
Exactly.
Oh, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that they were talking about, how like synergy between the MCU and comics is killing Marvel Comics because they're trying to line certain things up.
Yeah, not all the time, though. Not exactly.
No, if you tell a good story, that's the important thing.
That's the important
And here's the thing. They are now not everything. Some stuff sucks. Right?
Yeah.
But that's the creative aspect. It's like it's all subjective. But they are telling good stories with some that, not every swing is a home run. Some of them are misses, right? But they are telling good stories, and people are not paying attention to that because it's like, oh, I don't like what they're doing with Spider-Man, so all of Marvel sucks. I don't like what they're doing with Batman.
Do you think that is because they're so used to the old school writing and they love that, and now it's strayed away from that? I mean, you could say the same thing about
I think
I used
so.
to love
I'm
music. I loved rap back in the 90s. Now
Like, the rap now is shit. The rap now is shit in my opinion. I'm the same way.
I encourage everybody to go check out. It was actually, he just did a live interview with a controversial figure in comics to a certain extent. But on the Near Mint Condition YouTube channel, this guy Uncanny Omar, he did an interview live today with Dan DiDio, who was the co-publisher of DC with Jim Lee for 10 years, left in 2020, was kind of like ousted by upper like DC management. But he said in this interview, and I loved it, he's like, storytelling, he's like, when when we look at the writing in modern comics and stuff, people are upset because there's dino DNA and frog DNA. And he was talking about Jurassic Park. He's like, the dino DNA, right, is like the structure of like the story that writers are trying to tell. The frog DNA, if you remember in the movie, obviously not scientifically accurate, but where they use frog DNA to fill in the gaps in the dino DNA to make the dinosaurs, right? He's like, the frog DNA is what all of us as collectors and fans have, decades of knowledge.
Exactly.
So it's like, I could be reading this one character for 40 years, and maybe this new up-and-coming writer who's only like 25 years old, I could be reading this character longer than this writer has been alive.
Right.
So I might actually have more knowledge about this character over that period than the person who is now next writing this character, right? But they're still trying to tell a story, and I'm bringing all of this, like the frog DNA. I'm bringing in with me all of this info that I have over these decades and shoving that into what they're doing, and not necessarily giving the writers a chance to actually tell these stories, because I'm set in, no, that's not how this character, you know. And he even said he had it happen to him, and he said, what's his name that created the Punisher, had it happen to him, where somebody came up to him at a con and was like, you don't understand the Punisher character. And he's like, motherfucker, shit. I created the Punisher. I am the fucking Punisher, right? Like, you know what I mean? That's the thing, is like, we all have this ownership over these characters.
Yeah, that's true.
That we go in immediately. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, without necessarily reading something or giving it a chance, and we get it reinforced by what we see on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, because there are all these channels, right? If you go and you see all these thumbnails about modern comics sucks, modern comics are dying, they're not selling, the writing is horrible. That's all you see. That's what you start to believe. And then you've got somebody who has only read 1 or 2 books, and I rattle off 12 other titles that they haven't read. But they were convinced that modern writing and modern comic books right now out of Marvel and DC is shit. But they hadn't actually read Moon Knight or Ghost Rider.
Right.
They hadn't actually read any of these other books. They hadn't read Donny Cates' run on Thor or Venom or Hulk, all of which are fucking awesome. Right? There are all these great writers out there. Jed McKay, you know, Benjamin Percy, Jason Aaron. Like, go read Jason Aaron's run on Thor. Okay. Read what Jason Aaron is doing right now on Punisher, which is another prime example. People were like, oh, Punisher is woke. He gave up the symbol because of the modern political climate, and Marvel is just kowtowing to liberals and stuff. No, that had dick all to do with the fucking story. And anybody who's reading the Punisher right now knows exactly why he had a different emblem on his chest. And exactly why it made sense in this run, and how fucking amazing this Jason Aaron Punisher run is. Right? But all these people had this shit reinforced, but they were just like, they just listened to what people were saying on YouTube without.
He's only using swords,
and even
that was the first book.
But see, that thing is, and even Jason Aaron was like, this run was his way of basically showing you how capable the Punisher was, and it wasn't just about bullets, guns, and stuff like that. It had nothing to do with like.
It also had to show the power of the beast that is taking him over as the leader of the Hand. To show what the destructive force that he was going to be with the beast in him without guns. But he
that
does.
First book, bro. The cover, I was like, oh man, he don't have no more guns. Like, damn, what's going on with the Punisher?
And it was all about it was all about what
after
he
reading
to
it
do in this story. And
Frank was
what
a beast.
they do in this story is fucking
awesome.
The Punisher is one of the best ongoing series that they have at Marvel right now. And all these people were saying, "No, fuck, I'm not reading. This is bullshit. He's giving up his guns. He's It is a bloody, brutal as fuck.
I was like that until I grabbed the book. Brendan was like, I think we talked about it after one of these shows when it first dropped. I think early in the year when it first dropped, and me, you, and Layla
And
was
you didn't
on,
want to read it,
and I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to read it
because it's what you heard,
right,
and we gotta recognize that like we live in a different era now. Back in the 90s, there wasn't Instagram and Facebook and YouTube to convince people of something before they actually get. So they had the dead set. Oh, this is what that is before they actually even consumed that media.
I was guilty of that with Punisher because I was a big Punisher fan. Y'all know that. And they see him with no guns. I'm like, no guns. What they gonna do with ninja swords?
Yeah,
man.
And it even showed because he was bad with them at first. He wasn't good with them, and they were and they were like, dude, you're supposed to be the best killer on the planet. Like you suck with these swords.
Listen,
and it was about the journey and the beast and what was going on with the hand, and his wife and his kids.
Yeah,
so perfect. And it's so, and it adds so much in terms of layers to
bro. When he fucked up Jigsaw in that book,
kill back when he's a kid, his marriage, all this stuff,
everything,
it's fucking unreal. It's so good, but people just jump to these conclusions beforehand, and it's like if you read modern comics and you're like, man, this sucks, and this is why I don't like this, and this is why, then okay. But to me, it's like there's this wave of bullshit. People are just saying modern comics suck. Have you read any modern comics? Well, no, because they suck.
Right.
How do you know?
And
if you read them and you say they suck and you tell me why, okay, cool. Maybe we agree, maybe we disagree on something, but you gave it a shot. But when you're reading 2 books and then saying you know how many fucking comic books I've read you know how many come out every week, right? And you only read 2 and you say modern comics suck. Can't, with the level of talent that's out there, with the Jason Aarons, the Chip Zdarsky's, the James Tynans, okay, with the Scott Snyders, with all of these guys that are out there right now, there's way too much talent for anybody to think that modern comics sucks. Here's the thing that people don't want to acknowledge: not every comic book is written for you, right? It's okay if you like A, B, and C and don't like X, Y, and Z. You don't have to like the whole fucking alphabet, right? And that's what people get hung up on. It's like,
you know what? And then
you enjoy, and that's it. But
and see, it was a few years back. I was guilty of that, man, because it started off. It's 2 characters I don't want to see ever change, and that's Superman and Captain America. Like that's my 2 favorite. Of all time. What you mean?
Hell Hydra, bro.
Yeah, that's what I was about to walk into that. I was about to walk into that.
Nick Spencer run,
bro. When I saw Captain America at the end of that book say Hell Hydra, I said, I'm fucking done with Marvel.
Bro, the world went nuts,
bro. Dude, I said, I'm not
without
reading
really
no
understanding where it was going. But
and
see,
then my bro
when I read it, I was like, okay, here we go. New interpretation. That's exactly what I want. Because
you didn't see it coming.
Listen, bro, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming.
But when you saw that, did you really think that they were going to change him forever and he was going to be Hydra?
No.
You knew it was part of a story that was going to circle back.
But they dragged that story on forever, dog.
Marvel does tend to drag some storylines out longer than
forever until you find out what, like, almost a year later, the real Steve's in the Cosmic Cube with the girl and blah, 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 blah. And the other Steve is the one that's been around for all this time, and he's been evil on the low.
Yes, I agree. I liked that storyline. I just thought it needed to be condensed.
It was long, though. I went on for like a year, and my bro I used to go into a shop and get the books. He was like, "You sure you don't want the Captain America?" He was still piling them up for me. He was still giving them to me. I was still reading them, dog.
Here's the thing: you
have to read, though, like you said, because, bro, I was so mad, dog.
And in the end, if you don't like it, like that's okay. Like, it's not that you have to like it. Right. I am the biggest fucking Daredevil fan on this planet, and goddamn, do I hate Mark Waid's run on Daredevil. All right. And look, Mark Waid has done so much legendary stuff throughout his career, right?
Yeah.
Everybody loves Mark Waid. I've never met another person who didn't like Mark Waid's run on Daredevil. I have friends who that's their favorite run on Daredevil.
Wow.
And I fucking I mean, he wore a goddamn red tuxedo.
Yep.
Like fighting crime. Like, come on.
Yep.
I hate it. I hate it so much. So volumes 3 and 4, right? It's like a 40, 45 issue stretch of Daredevil. I hate. Absolutely hate. And that pains me, right?
Yeah.
But then Charles Soule came in volume 5, and I fucking love it, dude. And he brought him back to what I wanted. So it's like you have to be prepared for there are going to be times where a certain book and a certain character that you like, you're going to hate it. You're like, what the fuck? I don't like this. But it's an artist's interpretation of something. But you know that then the next creative team is going to come in and maybe you'll love that. It's not this is forever. But we also can't just be like, I don't like what they did with Captain America. All Marvel sucks now. Right,
dude,
and that's what we tend to do.
I'm telling you, that's as a fan of those two guys, Superman and Captain America, are my two favorites of all time. And to see that change in Captain America, bro, that broke my heart. I was so mad. I was so mad, bro. I'm guilty of that. I did that.
You have to look at these runs, these runs, bro. And here's the thing:
you gotta let the story unfold.
I've
learned that now. But
here's my thing. Here's my thing, though. Here's my biggest thing, bro. I don't like the simple fact that it's the same running narrative that's been going on for so many years. It gets dry to me. So when the unexpected happens, I'm excited about it. That's why for me, the axe, what I did not see coming, and the reason why, to me, I loved the axe run. I love even how short it was. I loved the axe run.
I agree.
That was a good short. That was a good one, though.
It was short.
But see, that's when it didn't drag out. I'm glad.
What I loved about it, though, what was really important to me with that run was what they did to Magneto's character and how powerful, showing how powerful he was, bro.
He really is.
Motherfucker held himself
he leveled up in that series
with no heart. He didn't even have a heart. Like his heart was ripped out, and he held.
And the man still held himself together.
And that shit was fucking incredible. And I'm like, yo, this is the shit that I basically want from comics, the unexpected. I don't want the same shit, because if it's constantly a recycled story, recycled run, which is what they're doing in movies now. What they're doing in the cinematic universe right now. Is
think about how much Kingdom Come was a departure from what we knew.
Oh my god. Right? Yeah, man.
Bro, do you guys remember
why don't they make that a movie, dog? Like,
what are you gonna say, Miguel?
What are they doing?
No, do you remember when Hulk Hogan turned heel? I mean, that shit was crazy.
Yeah,
but let me tell you, what? As a kid, as a kid,
that broke my heart, bro.
As a kid, that broke my heart, dog. I'm not even gonna lie. He's wearing black, Mom. He's wearing black.
Yeah.
He dyed his beard.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Hulk Hogan's evil.
But that's what I'm saying. But you know what? That led to some of the best stuff in the Monday Night Wars.
The NWA.
I was all about
it. When you're like, right, and that's what I'm saying. It's like,
and that's what's missing now.
That way. It's like, wait a minute, the Punisher is gonna be the leader of the Hand. It's that kind of shit. Wait, Cap just said "Hail Hydra." What the fuck? And it's like, that's the stuff that it's unexpected. And look, if people who have been reading comics as long as we have know that like shit always circles around and paradigms shift, and nothing is forever. You're gonna
because see that one hit me
came back after 10 years. All right, like that's what I'm saying. It's like so we got to give stuff, and the thing is, you're only cheating yourself if you prejudge stuff and then don't give it a chance, right? And if you don't do, because like how many books have I turned you on to, Jason? Right? Like
shit.
You didn't know shit about that Savage Avengers run, and then you're like, oh shit, okay, this is legit, right? That World Tree book that just came out that I told you about, right? There's stuff that like people aren't giving a chance because there's this echo chamber on. I see it tons on YouTube where people are just shitting on current comics. And then the other thing, and Lael and I talked about this too, is if people don't like the way something is going in the MCU or the DCU, then they tend to take that mentality and hurl that toward
Dump it on the
books,
comics.
too.
Yeah.
And then they don't want to read that character because they're like, oh, this one sucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or there are people who are like, I don't like what they just did with Moon Knight on Disney Plus, and I'm not going to read even though I love the character of Moon Knight, I'm not going to read the new run in Marvel Comics because I bet it's just the same bullshit that we just saw on the screen, and I don't want it.
Right.
Jed McKay,
bro.
Alessandro Capuccio, and Rochelle Rosenberg. I'm telling you, I cannot wait until an Omni for this run. An oversized hardcover. This artwork that they're doing, the colors, it's fucking unreal. It's so beautiful on Moon Knight. And Jed McKay, I love the way he's writing this. It is phenomenal. But people, it's like they either felt one way or another about the Disney Plus show, and then they let that influence whether or not they're gonna read this run.
Comics.
Man.
That's the thing, bro. Like it moral to this, because I'm gonna wind this down really quick because it is getting late. Because we can go on and on about this, man.
Listen.
But the moral
True.
The moral is, listen, just because you may see, it goes so far, but just because there is one particular run that you may not like, or a character change, or just a direction that they're taking a certain character that you may not like for the moment, doesn't mean that. I mean, here's the thing. Obviously, there's a plan behind it, and they're going to circle around. For people who didn't basically or don't like the simple fact that Miss Marvel is about to die, she's going to come back.
She's not going to be gone.
There's a reason for this, and a lot of this might even be set up to do it this way because they know the film is coming in November. So there's a lot that's basically being done right now behind the scenes that you don't know about. Just trust the fucking process and just let shit work out instead of just complaining about this shit all the fucking time, man. Like, I swear to God, I will say just one thing, Lael, is to a comment by Art Not Toys, and this isn't to throw shade on you. I'm not trying to be a dick to you or anything. But you said, I've seen a few statements from Marvel citing they are trying to distance themselves from that symbol because it has been used by so many hate groups. It's talking about the Punisher logo. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm sure you're a perfectly nice human being. I'm not going to say challenge. I'm not trying to be adversarial. I would ask you to go and try and find those statements that you say you saw, because what I think you probably saw was people talking about Marvel trying to distance themselves,
opinions,
and not an actual statement by Marvel. Because guess what? Marvel never actually made a statement saying we're not going to use the Punisher symbol anymore because it's been co-opted by hate groups. Marvel has never actually made that statement. And even Jason Aaron, who is writing the Punisher, was like, yeah, people were talking about that, and I let them think what they wanted to, and I was just like, we'll just wait until they read it. And if they don't read it, then they're missing out. Marvel, and that speaks to my point. It's that echo chamber where you didn't actually see Marvel making a public statement, because I guarantee you, go back, they did not make any such statement. Okay, they wouldn't. All right, they never made that statement, but because people were talking about that online and saying that was their reasoning, and that was their motivation, without having any actual evidence, it just started populating all over the internet, and everybody was just saying, oh, I read it over here. I read it over here.
Fucking thing that is happening right now.
And it's a game of telephone, and then everybody assumes,
same
Marvel made a statement.
Bullshit that is happening right now with the fucking Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Motherfuckers are writing that shit off. Haven't even seen the fucking movie yet. Have not seen the fucking film yet. Oh, but this is what's going to happen. I'm not a fan of this book. Man, fuck that. Watch the fucking movie before you actually make or formulate your own fucking opinion. Have your own opinion. That's the thing. Please.
That's like what I just did with Fast
fucking
X.
opinion. I fucking hate the simple fact that these motherfuckers out here, bro, it's like it's Chinese whispers. You hear one person say it, you take it, put your own spin on it, and then it just goes, man, fuck that. Go see it for your damn
to the
self.
point
Because
where a certain segment of the fandom is actually rooting against the success of the movies
Yo.
and
Exactly.
shows and
That's-
comics
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
supposedly
This
Yep.
is why I
Yep.
put up that fucking post today. Y'all motherfuckers need some titties. Y'all need, I swear to God, y'all need some
Yes,
titty milk
yes.
or
Ain't nothing wrong with
something.
that.
Because I swear to God, like, yo, it is so many complaining ass motherfuckers out there cannot think for
Get the milk.
themselves.
Get the
They are
milk.
taking a narrative that has been spoken by so many other motherfuckers and are running with it. Please, I beg you. Yeah, you know what? I challenge motherfuckers to do this. Think for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Think for yourself.
but
Think
Because Fast
for
X
your
was good,
that's
bro.
exactly
man.
what. And Leo, that's my whole
Mhm.
thing is
Mhm.
when I say think for yourself, it means like if you end up disagreeing with me, that's fine. I mean, you have a
Mhm.
right to be wrong. You know,
Mhm.
you should agree with me, but that's okay. But read the books and then make your mind up, right? Don't like
Right. When people don't
say,
get
oh, somebody
poom
else
poom,
said
they
this stuff, you know.
Yes.
Oh,
When
sorry.
people don't get the poom poom, they start acting crazy. Hell yeah, bro. That's
So
what I'm
it's like
talking
just
about. Facts.
just watch it, right? Watch Indiana Jones, then make up your mind. All right,
Hell
watch
yeah,
Fast X,
bro.
then make
Hell
up your
yeah.
mind. Read The Punisher, then make up your mind. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But now you know, and and knowing is half the battle.
And I'm
Now
going to say
you
this
know-
too before we close this out. I'm going to say this too. I'm going to say this because there's a lot of motherfuckers out there that are guilty of this. And y'all think I'm not, and I don't know y'all, and y'all don't think I don't see shit.
Pointing at you, motherfuckers.
I'm pointing. Listen. Captain Marvel or the Marvels comes out in November, right?
Oh god.
You haven't seen the fucking movie yet, okay? You haven't. But you are still running with a narrative off of a fucking statement that Brie Larson made years ago. And because of that, everybody in this fucking film has to suffer. Watch the fucking film first. If it's bad, then we
Then
have a
say
conversation.
but
to
watch
make.
it first.
But watch it first. It doesn't come out in November. There hasn't been any private screenings, none of that shit. And if you're going off of those rumors, that's because there's a lot of motherfuckers that are ready to review bomb this fucking film.
And say
Right.
and the same
And
fucking
the problem
thing
is that when you go in there with that attitude, you're already gonna, fuck it up
Yeah.
for yourself.
and at that point,
Yeah.
Go in there with an
Yeah.
open mind.
I
don't
go
even
in the
like
movies on
this
a
stuff
clean
anymore.
slate now because
if you're going in with that mentality,
yeah,
then why are you even a fan of this stuff anymore? Like, because you're
that's
just
how I
going
went
in
to go see
looking to
Fast
hate shit.
X.
Same thing
Yeah.
applies to Echo. Everybody out there who's just fucking got a hard on to just shit on Echo. Just fucking relax and watch
Listen,
it. You'll
man,
be able to watch it in
somebody-
one day.
Fuck
Somebody's-
Echo, fuck Daredevil, fuck Punisher.
Yeah,
It's like,
bro. Yeah, bro. Like that's just how everybody is.
Everybody's
Nobody's
whack.
like here's the thing. And this, all right. So this is when I'm gonna tell you this. All right, before and I'm gonna say this and then we're done.
All right.
A motherfucker pissed me off on his show. Brendan, I don't know if you saw this, but he pissed me off on his fucking show.
Who did?
wait, were you on the show?
No.
No, you were watching it.
So listen, I'm watching this.
Oh, you're talking like John Campia? Or something?
So you said it, not me. Listen, so Echo doesn't come out until November.
You're gonna have Campia coming after us.
Yeah.
Echo doesn't come out until November. So apparently they have decided to release every episode, right? They decided to release every episode. This is what they're saying. They decided to release every episode
November
on Disney
29th,
Plus
yep.
on November 29th.
So all of them be available the first night?
on November
all 6
29th.
episodes, the whole thing.
Now
Oh,
listen.
shit. Okay.
What this motherfucker did, bro, is that he got on his channel and said, that is not a good sign. That's Disney saying they already know that this is a bag of shit, and that's why they're releasing it. When he said that, bro, I got in that chat, and oh my God, bro, and I never do that. But that shit pissed me off.
Yeah.
I'm
no,
like,
I heard what he said.
Fuck are you to say that, bro?
I heard what he said, and then he also drops he's like, now I don't know for certain, I could be wrong, but he basically was like, I'm 99%, this is, I think, why this is happening. And to me, a lot of people jump to that, and I'm thinking, okay, it's possible, that they don't have faith in this show and they just want to drop it and because it's garbage and they just want to get it over with quickly, right?
I don't think that's it, man.
Against that though is She-Hulk. Okay?
Yep.
How dare you talk about?
Because that was some doo-doo stew.
She-Hulk was trash.
That was some doo-doo stew.
Yeah.
She-Hulk was trash.
Stew that
She-Hulk was made for motherfuckers who want to fucking talk shit. We got back at
we
you guys.
were
That's
all,
what that was.
We were all on board for that show.
Yes, we were.
Looking forward to that.
Yes,
we were defending that show.
Yes, we were.
Before, and even after the first 2 episodes, we were still defending it and saying this has got potential. And then they jumped the shark. It was bad, okay? But if somebody likes it, that's fine. But I'm saying it didn't. It was not well received critically, and a lot of like fans. There are people out there who liked it. Yes, a lot of people hated that. Okay, they still went week to week with that. All right. I don't believe that Echo was so bad, worse than that they're like, oh fuck, you know. Is it a possibility? Yes. I think the possibilities are that, or they think this is a really good show, but
and people don't want to wait,
not
man.
necessarily a show that is going to capture everybody right away and week to week. Remember, that's why they dropped the first 3 episodes of Andor, which was a fucking phenomenal show.
Yep.
But they knew the first 2 or 3 episodes are going to be slow.
You got to draw you in.
All of those at once to really get somebody in so that they would stick around for the subsequent ones.
Right.
Echo is only 6 episodes. And for all we know, they're half-hour episodes because Disney Plus always runs low, right? So it's entirely possible that they don't have faith in the show, or that they have faith in the quality of the show but believe that it's going to be better consumed as
at one
whole thing for people to watch, and they want to test that out to see if that binge model will work for certain shows.
Netflix
it's also
does it.
possible that it comes down to some scheduling problems.
Oh yeah.
Because you also have Loki that they need to drop. And there's
Secret
also
Wars.
very real the issues of just tax cost. And stuff having to drop in a certain quarter. Yeah. There are a number of possibilities. One of them absolutely is that they don't think the show is good. I'm not saying that's not a possibility.
Oh man,
I don't think that's the reason though.
Yeah.
Until November 29th, we won't know.
We won't know that shit.
So why can't we just wait and on November 29th watch it and find out? But it seems like we got to have this rage-filled fucking circle jerk about how much this thing sucks for 4 or 5 months leading up to it.
But it's like, who was telling them this shit? Who's telling you it sucks,
bro? That's
the whole point.
Anyway,
Who's telling you
I
this shit?
don't want to go off on that because he just pissed me off when he said that shit. Anyway,
great
conversation tonight. We're going to actually shut this down and close it down. But then again, think for yourself. That's just the bottom line. Instead of just give these motherfuckers a chance, give writers a chance, and especially if they have your interpretation, give them a chance instead of actually formulating your own opinion and your perception about shit that you haven't even read yet. Plain and simple.
Haven't even read.
Go see Fast X. It's fun.
It was good.
Somebody already spoiled the ending for me, and I'm pissed. But anyway, thank you.
Oh, they told you about it already?
Yeah, I didn't spoil shit.
No, you didn't. Somebody else did.
So I say Brendan told me.
I'm gonna still go see it.
It's stupid fun.
Yeah, stupid fun. Definitely stupid fun, bro.
But I'm gonna still go see it and check it out. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. Miguel, what you got going up? Tell them what's going on with you over there at Toy Quest, bro.
Bro. Okay, so Thursday I got the Unleashed store from Iron Studios review going up on my channel. Friday we're back at Toy Quest 101 Collectors Assemble live show. And then I should be getting the life-size 1-to-1 Killing Joke bust Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
So I'm going to try to review that as fast as I can because I want to air it. I'm like super excited. It is definitely going to boot out one of these Batmans back here for sure. And then after that, I have the life-size prop sword replica of the power sword that belongs to Skeletor.
Nice. Oh, the purple one.
Yep.
That's
going to be coming out soon as well. But yeah, man, we got a lot of stuff going on with Toy Quest 101. But dude, guys, I really appreciate you guys having me on tonight. Fun
Definitely,
comic book conversation, man. Definitely good group of guys, man. And it was definitely fun, man. Appreciate it.
Definitely, man. Appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, Miguel at Toy Quest 101, make sure that you get over there and follow. Great content. Every Friday has his live show. You want to check that out. Always have great content over there. So definitely go ahead and support if you haven't already, bro. Thank you for being here. Jedi Pimp, what's going on with you? Who you smacking this weekend? You got some cheeks that you need to smack to get off the Dice channel. What's going on? Tell them about it, bro.
The cheeks right upstairs. I'm about to go up there in a few minutes. But no, man, I'm waiting for things to come in. I got Carnage coming. Was it Carnage? I'm still waiting for the Mando Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's Cyborg.
Yeah, we still gotta have an unboxing with Vinny for that.
Yeah.
If Vinny is dodging, bro. Vinny is dodging for some reason with that figure. I don't know why he won't open it, but he got to open it on camera.
Yeah, he definitely.
Like next week. He got to open it on camera, man. But that's it, bro. I'm just waiting for the things to come in, and that's it, man.
Definitely, bro. Well, definitely thank you for being here as always.
No
if you
doubt.
haven't already, Master Sergeant on Instagram, Jedi Pimp on fans only fans. Definitely
do not listen to him, bro.
Definitely make sure, like straight up, like
and Lael's on Only Feet.
It's different poses of him smacking. So definitely, you know, it's always thank you. Always good to actually have you here, brother. Next up, we got Mr. Butt Naked himself. Yeah, Miguel's a real thing. Butt Naked is originated. I don't know how, but it's been a running thing.
I saw the box.
Motherfucker, it was you.
You started that shit like a year ago.
Definitely. So, Mr. Butt Naked Collector without fear, man. What's going on with you, bro? What we got going on, man?
Dude, I'm waiting on Wanda. We'll be here soon. I am looking forward to Thursday, so I get my new 75-inch TV delivered. So,
man, go ahead and play Star Wars. Stop waiting, man.
Well, that's it.
Damn.
So Jason's been trying to get me to play Jedi.
So hard-headed, bro.
And he's like, play the first 10 minutes. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm not going to play 10 minutes. If I turn it on, I'm going to play 4 hours. So I'm waiting until my new TV is here, and then I'll do. He was messaging me trying to get me to play the game like he's a fucking crackhead.
Dude.
So,
game is fire.
I will be diving into that game probably like Thursday, Friday. And I'm just waiting for new comic book day, get some books in. I'm excited for the new Daredevil and Echo miniseries kicks off on Wednesday and with #1. And that's actually it's funny. So another release this week is the trade paperback of Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I'd done that video on a while back. And that miniseries is so good. And I laughed at the names at the time, but I didn't know who they were. The writing team of Taboo and B. Earl. Okay. What I did not realize that the Taboo is from the fucking Black Eyed Peas.
Eyed Peas, yeah.
I didn't realize that he was writing comics though. So I'm like, if you're in the Black Eyed Peas, you can be called Taboo, but who's writing comics and you're calling yourself Taboo? And then I realized it was the same. I was like, okay, that's allowed.
Now you sound like those dudes judging the movies without reading them. Bro. You just became one of them.
Fair. That's fair. I've seen the error of my ways.
Circle came around.
I've seen the error of my ways. But anyway, so the trade paperback of Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man comes out this week, and the first issue of the Daredevil and Echo miniseries that they are also doing comes out this week, along with the trade paperback of Hitomi, which I did the other video on that you guys saw. So those are 3 recommendations for people, those 2 trades, and then that first issue of that miniseries that are good pickups this week. If you're looking for something good to read and something with great artwork, all 3 of those are going to have that. So that's what I'm looking forward to getting delivered this Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely. So great. It's going to be some great stuff happening. New TV. wide vision of butt neckedness going on in the crib. So definitely, if you haven't already collected Without Fear on Instagram, make sure that you actually do so. Check it out. What we got going on over here on the channel. We got Say What Wednesday coming out. So guess definitely we're going to be talking about like figure releases, reveals, stuff like that this week. No Uncivilized this week. It'll be next week. And then we got Figure Flex Friday, of course. Make sure that you flex in those figures, all your displays, all that stuff that's going on.
R.I.P. to Ray Stevenson too.
R.I.P. Ray Stevenson.
Man, that's out of the blue.
Crazy considering the fact that we just ran into him, met him at Star Wars Celebrations.
That's
it
so
was
sad.
Incredible.
58 years old, man.
And just watching him the other day on RRR, that fucking movie was incredible. I loved it. But just
and Punisher,
58 years old.
Damn.
And he was actually in Italy filming. He was actually filming.
Yeah, they took him to the hospital off of the set while he was filming because something. Yeah.
Off the Ahsoka set.
Nah. He was filming another movie. The Ahsoka's already done.
Movie. He already finished because he's one of the villains in. He's one of the villains in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's already. He already filmed all of that.
So young, man. 58. That's crazy, dog.
58 years old. So shout out to Ray Stevenson, his family. Rest in peace.
No doubt. Rest in peace, man.
He's ever given us. So definitely so excited about me. I mean, so sad to basically hear, but excited about his body of work because he left behind great work.
Great work.
Such an amazing personality, and I'm so excited about Ahsoka that's coming up in August to basically be able to see it as well. So shout out to Ray Stevens, rest in peace. Definitely one of the good ones. Gone too soon, but never forever, always will never be forgotten.
No doubt.
Thank you for being here. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. Great show. Everybody out there, have a great evening. Read some comics like Brendan always actually says and celebrate. Next week, who knows what the topic is going to be, but just basically be here so you can enjoy it. That's all we can actually ask you to do. Again, peace of love, comic book talk with friends out for another week. We will talk to y'all again next week. Let's go.